call the meeting to order and ask Nicole to take roll call, please.
Bodie,
Here.
Cacciatore,
Here.
Aubrey Montgomery,
Here.
Kroll,
Here.
Rosendahl.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, please stand as you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Urbandale is a national leader in character counts, endeavoring at all times to promote and model the principles of trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship. In conducting tonight's meeting, we expect that all participants will act in a respectful manner consistent with these principles. Item 2 is to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Kroll. Second by Cacciatore. Discussion. Please vote.
I've got a green check, but I'll go back out. Did that work?
I'll take a voice vote on this and see if we can get it fixed. Sorry.
Make it work, Blake.
Aubrey Montgomery,
Yes.
That passes. All right, item 3, presentations. Before we get to our regular agenda, I do want to make a special side presentation that we're going to do, and that's for Steve Franklin, our Community Development Director. Steve has been with the city for just over 20 years and has been our Community Development Director for, what, about half that time, Steve, I'd say? So this is Steve's last meeting. He has nothing on the agenda tonight, so we're not going to make him stay, but we do want to recognize Steve and his long tenure and distinguished tenure and what all he has accomplished for the city of Urbandale during this time. So Steve, if I want to just come up and shake your hand and let's acknowledge Steve. You don't want any formality, I know that, but I know I twisted your arm to stay here.
You did. It hurts a little, but I'll get over it. I can't believe it's been 2 decades, but it's been 2 decades. I don't know how that happened. It's been my pleasure. Best of luck to all of you. Merry Christmas to all of you. Merry Christmas to all of you. Lots of great things going on in Urbandale. Part of me wishes I could hang around, but you know, it's time to go. So I'm going to do that, but I'm going to be following along and wish you all the best and thank you for the opportunity. It's been my pleasure, really.
Thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you.
All right, and then we will get to what's on the agenda, and that's the Bravo Grant presentation. And to introduce this, I'm going to introduce our Parks and Rec Director, Jan Herkey. Jan?
Very excited. We have a big old check here tonight, and a representative from Bravo, Amy Saylor, is here. We recently received a $50,000 check for, we're going to be commissioning public art for the entrance of the Barrett Bozen Park Natural Playscape. So we just finished our public art committee meeting and strategic planning for the next year. So our whole committee is here, which is wonderful. So Amy is here to present it. And Amy, do you want to say a few words?
Absolutely.
Thank you. It's so great to be here tonight. And as always, we certainly continue to appreciate our partnership with the City of Urbandale. And we also truly appreciate how you always put public art first and bring it to every project first and not as an afterthought. So thank you for continuing to do that and for all you do, and to Jan for always being the champion for public art as well. So thank you, and I'm excited to be here tonight.
All right.
Yeah. I don't think we have to worry.
We have 2 new members of our Public Art Committee. They're not even officially appointed until in just a few minutes, but they came here tonight too. So thank you thanks to our Public Art Committee for everything they do. All right, this is item 4. We are in Citizens Forum. This is the opportunity to address the council on something that is not a part of tonight's agenda. Does anyone like to address the council this time? Can you just give your name and address for the record?
Sure thing. Hi, my name is Wayne Bruns, and I do appreciate the opportunity to speak with you tonight. I've been a resident here for about 37 years, married a lovely woman from Urbandale, Iowa, who actually got me to move to Urbandale 37 years ago. Been here ever since. I'm here to talk about 2 different things. One, to really applaud you for all the things you have done as a city council and the mayor over the last decade. A lot of different issues, but also to encourage you to keep it up, keep it going in this future. I have a lot of folks from around the country who ask me, why do you want to live in Iowa? And after we get talking about January and February winters and tornadoes in the spring, we start talking about Urbandale. I talk about, you really got to come here. You have the 4th of July celebration. You have the great schools here, the great community involvement, and a lot of people doing things. But also a lot of things you do related to sustainability and climate change. Those things are so important to me. And I think a lot of people down the road as we go forward. We talk about things like the Sustainable Urbandale Action Plan you've put together, about the geothermal and solar panels that have been put together for the city and public buildings, about your ability to actually encourage people to buy native species, about doing the, I know sometimes controversial, but the idea of doing more safe streets with the Complete Streets program. Really encouraging. And most recently, I'm really encouraged by the opportunity to try and look at some really low-income housing. It's really encouraging for me who live here. All these things are important, not just to me, but to our kids and our grandkids and for generations to come. What you do today is really important. And for that reason, I'm going to encourage you to keep on doing that in the future. I know you're coming close. You're talking about your capital improvement here in the next few weeks. I know there's a lot of things on the table, a lot of money that needs to be spent. I want you to keep on that mind about what can be done with that money, particularly for those sustainability issues, whether it be climate change, whether it be low-income housing, whether it be other things in that regard. That makes such a difference. As we all know, there's not a lot of help these days from the federal government or even the state government. And it comes down to the folks in local communities that really can make a difference. I hope you have a chance to do that for all of us here and for our kids and grandkids down the road. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Wayne, appreciate it. All right, is there anyone else like to address the council on something not a part of tonight's agenda? All right, seeing none, then we'll move on. We have the adoption of the minutes, first from the Capital Improvements Program meeting of December 1.
So moved.
Motion by Kroll,
Second.
second by Rosendahl. Discussion, please vote. You in now, Bridget? That passes. Then the December 2 regular city council meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Kroll,
Second.
second by Rosendahl. Discussion, please vote. That passes. And finally, the December 9 City Council Capital Improvements Program meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Kroll,
Second.
second by Bodie. Discussion, please
Sorry.
vote. You interrupted Blake. We had such a good rhythm.
I know, sorry.
That passes, thank you. Item 6 is the consent agenda. There are 16 items for approval.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Rosendahl,
Second.
second by Kroll. Discussion, please vote. That passes. We will move on to public hearings. Our first public hearing is item 7.1, a public hearing to consider amendment number 2 to the second amended and restated Northwest Market Center Urban Renewal Plan. The public notice for this was published in the December 5, 2025 Des Moines Register. Ask for any objections to that notice as published.
There were none.
Is there a motion to open this public hearing?
So move.
Motion by Kroll, second by Bodie. Discussion, please vote. And to introduce this is our Economic Development Director, Aaron DeYoung. Aaron?
Great, thank you,
Board
Mayor,
person.
City Council, Aaron DeYoung with the Economic Development Department. So we do this from time to time, is to do an amendment to our urban renewal plan. to do several things, and we're also looking at some of the incentive modifications. Just so you know, this is the Northwest Market Center Urban Renewal District and its plan, which is our largest urban renewal district. Kind of covers throughout the urban loop area. It covers most, if not all, the commercial property along that corridor. So it is a significant one that we utilize to help grow either through soil and blight remediation and through economic development purposes throughout the entire area. Originally, it was established in 2000, and then the last time we touched this with all of you was 2023, there in the fall. So 4 things that are in the staff communication, as well as what I'll do briefly here in the presentation, is to update the CIP projects, update the amounts from our development agreements, the affordable housing, incorporating that, and then incentive modifications. So I'll go through all of these all quickly and then be able to answer any questions, and then we can go up because it is a public hearing. So to those 4 items that I just mentioned, first is the infrastructure. So our capital improvements budget, has lots of things in it, as you well know. It's a big, long binder. And some of those projects are within the Northwest Market Center Urban Renewal District, and so we utilize urban renewal funding for that. And so one of those things that we like to do is to have those projects that are anticipated, that are in that document, in the CIP, to also be in the urban renewal plan. So we've made modifications to the tables that are in that. Asked me what those specific projects are. That's why Nikki is sitting to my right. So if there are questions related to that. Second is the development agreements. So we've done a few development agreements within the urban renewal district since the last amendment. There's one section in there that kind of says what the total obligations are for those development agreements that are on the books. And so we upgraded or updated those figures with that. So that's another change that we did. Third is the affordable housing. So it wasn't explicitly stated within our urban renewal plan that acquisition for affordable housing of commercial and industrial properties is an allowed use in our urban renewal plan. So we thought that that was a good idea to put in here because of the efforts that we are continuing throughout the community. But if it's in Northwest Market Center, we have some extra resources to be able to facilitate that use in there. So we don't want to incorporate that. And then fourth is the incentive modifications. We do have several incentive programs that are within the urban renewal district. The one that we use the most often is the standard incentive. This is available for all commercial and industrial development. Currently, it's a 5-year incentive program, so it's a rebate of the increased taxes generated from new construction within the district on the building's value. And we have a 5-year schedule, as you can see here on the left side of the screen, with 75 and then decreasing 15% over the 5-year period. Related to our revenue projections and the way that it may change on how we collect revenue throughout this, we wanted to see if modulating that down just a bit on our standard incentives so that we are still attractive as a community from when it comes to the incentive standpoint. We have lots of other benefits and incentives that are non-monetary to be in Urbandale. That's not my job to tell the businesses what those are. And so we are proposing to modify that to a 4-year schedule with an 80, 60, 40, 20. So if you added up all the percentages, this would be a 25% less over 1 year. So not significant, or it's significant, but not drastic. Related to that change. So that's one thing we wanted to call out through there. And then second, on the incentive modifications is, we've had a long-standing incentive called the Class A office incentive that was in the urban renewal plan. And it had a date certain as to when it would expire, and that was last December. So it has not been available throughout this year. We wanted to make sure that it was clear that that was out of the plan. But also, we know that this is our most attractive incentive program to get the highest of quality developments in the Northwest Market Center area. So we do want to still have flavors of the Class A office, but kind of go towards what we're doing in our Forward Urbandale Comprehensive Plan and trying to encourage placemaking and higher quality developments related to each other, particularly in the North Park area. So we're kind of moving away from the Class A office and moving into the North Park placemaking incentive, which I would love to go through with all of you. We've been working through this through projects with Dr. Tenninger and the medical campus to encourage the investments of placemaking and in creating engaging spaces, right along the urban loop and particularly along the North Park corridor. This is, kind of one of the key focus points in the North Park focus area and creating that mixed use, very high quality commercial developments right along the 100th Street and North Park areas. So we felt that, having an incentive that went right towards those types of investments that we really wanted to see was appropriate. So North Park Placemaking, we're going to go kind of into the detail a little bit. We've structured this, we're proposing it as kind of a two-part incentive. So part one is the placemaking projects. So this is available to any commercial projects that meet the qualifying kind of determinations that are in here. And that is that it's in the right spot. So it's along Plum and North Park focus area. Be a multi-story building so that we're getting kind of, instead of low slung offices, we're getting more height and creating, more space for other things rather than buildings. It needs to be greater than 20,000 square feet, so it's a significant building. It's big, but not too big. The smaller projects can still be eligible for this. This is an important one too, is to have these buildings that are either designed or are already built, is to have them close together so that you can kind of create a park once atmosphere that multiple buildings and employers and employees can utilize the same public spaces. And so instead of just having, the back nice patio for one building and then no one else could really use it, creating more of a public standpoint, you can do that better when the buildings are closer together. So that's part of this. And then also having improvements that qualify as those placemaking types of things. And we've created a list of those. It's not an exhaustive list. It's kind of to get the flavors. Certainly there'll be a process in talking with staff and then having it in a future development agreement related to these incentives. But some of them are elevated design and quality materials. Underground parking so that we don't have as many surface parking. We can create an environment where the cars are not dominating the space. It's more the people spaces. Reducing impervious surface investments or practices. Unique stormwater solutions to be able to help out with those because sometimes they are more expensive. Amenity-rich pedestrian areas so that there is really places for people to linger and enjoy the area. On-site electricity production so that we can help encourage those types of investments with quality developments. Sustainability features, that can be lots of things. I won't go into detail on what those could be, but there are lots of opportunities to be able to do that. And then creating those public park-like areas, whether it be a plaza, whether it be the nice pedestrian corridor between buildings, that type of thing. Those are just some of the examples that we put in the urban renewal plan. Certainly we want developers and businesses to be creative, so we're certainly open to others that kind of fall in the same type of flavor of projects. So part one is those for any projects, and that could be eligible for a 5-year 90% TIF rebate. And that would be equal to the amount of documented cost to do all those placemaking projects. So it's kind of you can get the rebates as much as you want to invest into the project that are related to those. And then part two, so that would be for any project. Part two is the catalyst investment side of this. So knowing that placemaking usually happens on the front end, and these things we want multiple projects to be able to benefit from, they tend to be born or the costs are earned at the front end. And so the first project tends to bear the brunt of being able to do those investments. So with some sub areas, we've kind of broken up the area into 4 pieces. The first project in each of those areas could be eligible for another 5 years of 90% rebate to help provide funding for the upfront cost to really do it right at the front end so that the rest of the projects can also benefit. It'd be the same amount of projects, or same kinds of projects, but the ones where they can be larger in scale because the first project can get that higher level incentive. The sub areas are here on the screen. So this is along the North Park corridor. There's kind of 4 properties that are kind of called out in the Forward Urbandale Comprehensive Plan related to these types of things. This is where it was colored the mixed use and the commercial areas. And so the first is Dr. Tenninger's property, K&J Properties. The second would be Macon Realty's south parcel, right along 100th and North Park. And then their north parcel, which is a 40-acre parcel in the green there on the north side of North Park. And then Center Point Business Park has a commercial areas that could work well with all of these properties. And so each of these 4 areas could have their first project be that, have up to 10 years of 90% rebate. That is my brief presentation on that. I know I went through things quickly. Happy to answer any questions if you have, or comments that you would like to make.
Thank you, Aaron. Are there questions? Are there questions from the council for Aaron at this point?
For the placemaking incentives, is that specific just to those 4 parcels, or is that just like district-wide?
It would be for the North Park and Plum areas. So it would be beyond those 4 sub areas could be eligible. But only the 4 sub areas could, the first project in each of those column rectangles would be able to see the second 5 years.
And that's the catalyst aspect there.
Yes, and that's the catalyst one. Yeah, the first project generally has more costs associated with getting the larger parcel in a spot to do placemaking.
That's fair.
Yep.
And then when it comes to, when you said the on-site electricity production, I'm sure there are like specific aspects of that would prohibit doing like a coal plant or something, you know, like, I'm assuming there are aspects of on-site electrical production that we wouldn't want, that wouldn't also be
Yes.
allowed anyway. But
Yes.
is that kind of
Yeah,
spelled out?
certainly the intent is for it to be renewable. I'm
Yeah.
thinking rooftop solar, if wind generation could be incorporated into the placemaking types of things, that is the mindset there. Yeah, none of the traditional
Gotcha.
kind of fuel would be eligible.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, any further questions?
Yeah, how does the standard incentive debate schedule that's being proposed compare to surrounding communities, just as an overview?
Yeah, other communities continue to have the 5-year sliding scale schedule is how most of the other communities have them on their standard incentive.
I saw there was some concerns expressed by the members of the Economic Development Advisory Board about that. Can you kind of elaborate on what those concerns were?
Yeah, I can try. Our advisory board, as you well know, it has 4 members that are really real estate focused, and so they were kind of the most focal through this process. A reduction in the amount of incentives is, inherently it pops up like, hey, we could be less competitive in that space, and so that was the flavor of the comments that were there. Duly noted, I'm the economic development guy, so I'm receptive. I want to remain as competitive as we can, but this is a small reduction in it, and I think it's one to see how the market reacts to that. If we do see any decreases, I mean, this is an amendment. It's not an absolutely end of the day type of thing. We can address it at a later date, but we as a team, felt it was something to propose to all of you.
Would also stand to reason that the catalyst incentives would perhaps offset any of those reductions for the economic community.
Yeah, for those projects that we want to see those major types of investments that we haven't seen to date. It would be a different incentive schedule, so they could see ones much larger than the standard incentive.
And do those all stack in the same 4 to 5 year period, or do they go like the standard schedule, and then if you do the placemaking, it starts after that?
Oh,
or-
they would be 2 totally separate programs,
Okay.
so you wouldn't be able to be eligible for both programs. You would go after the most advantageous one for you. So projects that are in these sub areas would, through our comprehensive plan, the intent there and our code, they're going to be drawn towards wanting to do the placemaking incentive rather than the standard. However, the standard would be available, but certainly at a smaller rebate schedule.
Gotcha.
I have another question.
Okay.
Yeah.
So commercial, does that include retail?
No, it'd be commercial, non-retail.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have not incented a retail project in town, and it is, that is called out in our urban renewal plan that it'd be commercial, non-retail.
Okay.
Yep. We've practiced that in several development agreements where we always get an annual form from them saying who the tenants are, and then we can see who's retail and who's not, and then it's a pro rata reduction of the eligible rebate.
All right, any further? All right, we are in public hearing on this item. Would anyone like to address the council on this item? All right, seeing none, then is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So move.
Motion by Bodie,
Second.
second by Carberry Montgomery. Discussion, please vote. Excuse me. That passes. We have one item for consideration.
Motion to approve resolution 321-2025.
Motion by Rosendahl,
Second?
second by Kroll. Discussion, please vote. That passes. All right. Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate all the work on that. So. All right, moving on then is item 7.2, and that is a public hearing and consideration of bids for the public library interior renovations project. The public notice for this was published in the November 28, 2025 Des Moines Register. As any objections to that, notice is published.
There were none.
Is there a motion to open this public hearing?
So moved.
Motion by Carberry Montgomery.
Second.
Second by Bodie. Discussion, please vote. Continue the public hearing. Okay. All right. That passes. And to introduce this item is our Library Director, Nicholas Jang. Nicholas, welcome.
All right. Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Happy to be here this evening to talk to you about the interior space redesign project that we're working on at the library. Also want to thank a few library board members that are here tonight. We have Caleb Cooper, we have Diana Ripperger, we have John Jeffrey, we also have Tom Graves, and I think that's everyone. All right. Before we begin, I just want to give a little background of some of the statistics at the library. So all in all, usage of the library continues to be very strong. So the most recent fiscal year that we have data for, people checked out about 540,000 items from the library. We had about 20,000 people attend our various programs at the library, adult, teen, kids events. And then we also had about 207,000 visitors of the library. So that averages out to about 550 visitors to the library every single day, which I think is a pretty impressive statistic when you think about it. So a little bit of background, this is a continuation of the renovations that we started back in 2015. And this is also something that is part of the library's current strategic plan. So during our strategic planning process, we actually had some very extensive public input regarding what people wanted to see, what patrons wanted to see from the library. And we had over 1,400 comments from the community, which I think was pretty good. So there was a number of different things that popped up. Really, there were two main themes that we were seeing among all the comments that we had gathered. And the first was a need for more places to work in the library. And that was everything from more tables, more chairs, more private study rooms, more group study rooms, and also more large meeting spaces. And then the second theme that we got was to kind of update and modernize the kids area and then also the teen area with more new furniture and kind of interactable things in the kids and then the teen spaces. So we hired a consultant back in 2023. Consultant came in, made some recommendations in terms of improving the library's layout. And as a result of that, we hired OPN to come in and develop some renovation plans, and then also for OPN to oversee the remodeling and then the installation of the new furniture. So all in all, the library board and the library foundation have committed $650,000 to this project. And all of that funding is not city tax dollars. That's all donations either to the library, donations to the library foundation, and also money that we have received from the State Library of Iowa. So no impact on any of the city tax dollars here. So the project scope, I'll just run through some of this really quickly. This is kind of a high level of some of the things that we are going to be getting done in this project. First is eliminating the music CD and reducing the audiobook CD collections. Those are, decreasing in circulations, and so we feel that that's a good opportunity for us to use, make better use of that space in the library for other purposes. We're going to be getting some new furniture, improving the layout of the kids and the teens area. We're going to be enclosing the reading room, so that's the room that has the fireplace there in some glass walls, so people can either continue to use that, or we can use that space for like library events, like book clubs, or potentially having outside groups use that as well. We're going to be adding 2 individual study rooms and then 4 group study rooms. Those are sort of more on the northern side of the library. We're going to be adding some additional seating in the adult nonfiction area as well. We're going to be adding some cool things in the front entry of the library. We're going to be having some more seating, and then also some shelving for all of our new items that we have available for checkout. And then we're also going to be getting some new customer service desks to improve the staff workflow, and then also free up additional space that we can use for patrons. So I'll get to kind of the exciting part where we have some renderings and some floor plans to go through. So as you look there, you can see kind of down on the left-hand side of the map, we have some cool furniture that's going to be installed along that wall there and the window looking over Charles Gabus Tree Park for the kids. So some nice seating in that area. If you look up towards the top, kind of where we have the reading room, first I'll point out the teen space. We're going to have some cool furniture in that area for the teens to be able to use. Up at the very top, we have our reading room, and that's going to be glassed in, like I was saying, and there's going to be some new seating there that will be a little bit more flexible use, that if we wanted to use, like for tables, chairs, things like that. And then we have our new study rooms over on the right-hand side of the map where we have the adult nonfiction area. And this is a kind of an idea of some of the different furniture that you'll see, hopefully a little bit more flexible and fun stuff for the kids area. I'll point out the thing that I'm most excited about is if you look at the library logo there, we're going to be having sort of a kind of a couch, kind of a place for people to sit, and that's going to be in the shape, colors, everything of our library logo. So I think that'll be kind of cool.
Cool.
So this is a rough rendering, but this kind of gives you an idea. So we'll have some new seating out in the front entry of the library there. We're going to have the new adult books there, so I think that'll kind of be kind of a cool way of grabbing people when they first come in, because that's one of our most popular collections. And then as you look a little bit further back, we're going to have some more fun shelving that'll kind of be flexible in terms of staff displays, new displays, things like that.
Nicholas, can you go back to that picture? I'm just trying to orient myself. So
Sure.
what, the shelves on the right, would that be where the self-checkout area is now?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct. Yep. So you're kind of standing right now in front of almost the donor wall, kind of looking down that front spot, that central spine of the library. And then this is also the self-checkout area. So we're going to have our new books there, and then the shelving is kind of crude there, but we're going to be having, dedicating that space to our book sale. So where the book sale is currently, we're going to be turning that into some individual study rooms. This is our reading area. That's going to be, again, glassed off with a glass wall, and that'll kind of be flexible use, either for patrons to use that, or if we needed to have another meeting space, we can have this available like for teen events, book clubs, things like that.
It shows shelving in there. What, are there collections that are going to be in there?
Good question.
Would those be accessible during events, I guess was...
Yep. Yeah. So right now it's being used primarily for the newspapers and the magazines, and that's probably what it's going to remain at. We might move that somewhere else but we won't be hosting any kind of books or anything in that space. And then this is looking over in the kids area, so we're going to be moving the kids desk over there. So if you want to have assistance with our children's librarians, you can kind of go over there. That's sort of our wall where we have the family restroom, and then also the wall, the door to go back to the children's librarian area. And this is on the north side of the library, so this is kind of looking out to the police station across the staff parking lot there. We're going to be having a total of 4 group study rooms. They're going to be glassed off there, so I think that's still going to let in a lot of different light and also provide a nice area for people to do, studying, group projects, things like that. And then this is looking back on the other side, kind of towards that conference room where we have in the library, and then we're also going to have 2 more group study rooms over there. And this is going to be looking, again, kind of crude with, doesn't have all of the furniture there, but we're going to be having a new desk there where the adult computers are, and then we're going to have some more flexible, kind of fun and sort of semi-private pieces of furniture that you can kind of see over there. They are out in the open, but they are kind of enclosed to allow, maybe 1 person, maybe 2 people to work over there. So there's really 2 aspects to this project. The first is the furniture bids and our recommendation to proceed with that. This is item 9.2 under your regular agenda, but we received 3 different bids for furniture, and we are recommending to go with LFI, and they had the low bid of about $204,000, and that was lower than the estimate that OPN provided us of $225,000. And then regarding the renovations, we also got about 9 different bids. All in all, very pleased with the bids that we got in. The estimate from OPN was $425,000, and the low bid was from Burkett Construction for $306,631. So we're currently working with the city attorney to finalize the contract, so it's not technically ready for approval tonight, but we will be returning for the January 6th city council meeting to get that formal approval. But other than that, that's our presentation, and happy to answer any questions that you might have.
All right. Thank you, Nicholas. Questions from the council?
So with the contract here, is that like, are one of these resolutions falling off tonight, or is there just gonna be an additional one?
I think what we'll actually do, I was talking with David and the city attorney, we're gonna actually continue the public hearing to the January 6th meeting. And then we'll finish it up then, so. But we'll take any comments tonight if anyone wants to comment tonight, so. So if you have any questions on the project tonight from Nicholas, we'll answer those now, open it up for public comment, and then continue the public hearing to the next meeting.
Nicholas, what's the timeline?
Oh, yes. Thank you. I had one more slide. Anticipated construction is February 2nd, so that's when we're hoping to begin. And then the project completion deadline is June 30th. So we're really going to be pushing to get it done before summer reading, and it sounds like that's probably doable based on the scope of the current project. And our goal is really to minimize what the disruption would be to library patrons.
Thank you.
Yep.
How do you do that? Do you do stuff at night, or do we close the library a couple days, or?
Yeah, good question. I think for most of it, the library will be able to remain open. There's a few things I know they said when they're working on installing, like the study rooms, that they're going to be having to cut into the cement floor, and that'll be kind of loud. And they're hoping that they can do most of that before the library opens. So, I think all in all, we probably won't have to close the library any significant time. There might be like a day or 2 or something like that. But I think based on talking with Dick Lilly and OPN, it's probably not necessary to close the library for any kind of extended period of time.
I guess even opening a few hours late might get you enough time. You had talked about your strategic plan 22 to 26. Are you guys gearing up to do another one?
Yes, yep. So our current strategic plan goes through the end of 2026. And yes, we will be working with the State Library of Iowa to come up with a strategic plan for the next, 5 years. So, yep,
Love those.
there you go, yeah.
I got resounding positive feedback for the children's area furniture from my kids too.
Oh,
so
good.
They were
Nice.
enthusiastic about it.
Nice, that's awesome.
I have been put up to ask about the kids' furniture, if a raccoon was an option for one of the chairs, like cutouts.
Raccoon with maybe some laser eyes or something?
Perhaps.
That's kind of fun. That's currently not in the plans, but I think we could certainly look into that, so, yep.
Did you put yourself up to that, or?
No, Bridget put me up to it.
I mean, unicorns, raccoons.
Yep. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? All right, we are in public hearing on this. Again, we will be continuing this, but if there anyone's here tonight that would like to comment on this, certainly we'll take any comments tonight. So is there anyone who'd like to comment on this tonight? Okay, sir, please come up to the podium and give your name and address, please, for the record. Well, if you could address it, and then Nicholas can answer, but if you could come up to the podium and address it, and then we'll try to get an answer for you. Yep.
Nick Sander, just a resident of Urbandale. With the addition of the furniture, is it going to be replacing any of the existing furniture? And if so, what happens with all of that?
Nicholas, do you want to?
Yeah, good question. So we're going to be probably replacing most of the furniture in the kids area, because if you look at that, a lot of that is basically the exact same as what we have over on the adult side. So we'll probably be getting rid of some of that furniture. And what we would do is we would follow the city's process of getting rid of all of the different things. And I think that's largely seeing if there's any kind of other departments in the city that would be needing that. And then after that, I believe that we would go out to Gov Deals and then have that posted for the public, public auction.
All right, is there anyone else that would like to ask a comment tonight? All right, with that, then is there a motion to continue this to the January 6, 2026 meeting?
So move.
Motion by Bodie,
Second.
second by Carberry Montgomery. Discussion, please vote.
Mine did not come through. There it goes. Maybe.
That passes. All right, thank you, Nicholas. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I know there's a few library board folks here too. Thanks for being here, Tom. It's you. Thanks for being here. All right, we'll move on then to item 7.3, and that is a public hearing to consider the Fire Station 42 interior renovations project and the consideration of bids. The public notice for this was published in the November 28, 2025 Des Moines Register. I say objections to that notice is published.
There were none.
Is there a motion to open this public hearing?
So moved.
Motion by Kroll,
Second.
second by Carberry Montgomery. Discussion, please vote. That passes, and Chief Cardwell will come up if there. I don't know if you have a specific presentation, Chief, or
No. Well, how do we follow that?
you can bring in raccoon laser
Setting
eyes
me
to your
up.
project.
Yeah, we have no raccoon. Actually, this is just, will be similar, just bringing to your attention that we have received the bids back on the project, conduct a public hearing. The low bid was GTG Construction at $214,000, but we'll bring it back to you in January for completion. And just a reminder of what we're doing here, renovating 3 spaces, the main office space, the battalion chief's office, and the lieutenant's office. So
Okay.
happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the chief at this time? All right, so we're not going to take this up tonight either. So we will, similar to the library one, we will continue this. First of all, we are in public hearing on this item. Would anyone like to address the council on this item? Okay, seeing none, then I'd ask for a motion to continue this public hearing to the January 6th meeting as well.
So move.
Motion by Bodie.
Second.
Second by Rosendahl. Discussion, please vote. That passes. All right, thanks, Chief. All right, moving on then, item 8.1 is to establish a public hearing for the 2026 to 2031 CIP program, and Nikki would answer any questions, but this would establish January 6th as the date for the public hearing on this.
Motion approved, council letter 8389.
Motion by Kroll.
Second.
Second by Cacciatore. Discussion, please vote.
I have a question. If we get to the capital improvements program after the public hearing and there's still some issue and that we can't like figure it out right in the moment, can we then, is it a big deal to postpone for 2 weeks kind of thing till the next meeting? Is that what we're looking at, that would be a big problem, or?
No, I mean, at the end of the day, the council will have, we would anticipate trying to get all of these questions answered,
right.
Excuse me, between now and then. If for some reason the council is not prepared to adopt the CIP with whatever adjustments are discussed on the fly, then it could be, that decision could be
It's kind of tabled to the
deferred.
next one.
Yeah, I would recommend keeping the schedule for the public hearing, and let's be optimistic that we can get it all
Yeah,
figured out between now
I'm
and
very
then.
optimistic.
Yeah, so we'd have the public input on on the 6th, excuse me, but then, yeah, depending on what happens or what comments you have, if the council's not prepared to take action, as David said, we can.
Got it.
We can defer the actual action on it for 2 weeks.
All right, I'm ready to vote.
Yep. All right, do we have, I lost track, do we have a motion, a second on this? We have a motion, okay, so please vote. That passes. Item 9.1 is to consider the annual comprehensive financial report for fiscal year 24-25, and I'll turn it over to our finance director, Nikki Lamb. Nikki? I thought it was always called CAFR, and this is ACFR now?
They changed it about 5-6 years ago.
I'm always
but
used to CAFR.
I know. To the day I retire, I'll still call it that. So it's hard for us that have been here the 20 years. Yes, it is now considered the annual.
ACFR.
Yes, the A and the C switch spots, but I know what you mean. Pleased to present, this should have been at all of your spots. The new ACFR is available. It is on the website and available at the library and City Hall. This report was taken to audit committee and discussed thoroughly at that meeting, so I won't reiterate all of that, but at December 4th meeting, the audit committee did review that with our external auditor, was accepted by the committee and forwarded to council for review and acceptance tonight. Not to get super bogged down in all of the numbers, this was as vanilla as we got for an audit. Very clean, no adjustments, not anything super exciting, which those that sat through the audit committee, the auditor was struggling to find anything to really say that was exciting. So, but from my perspective and hopefully for yours, vanilla audit is a great thing. Nothing exciting is always positive. A few areas though to point out, just kind of the highlights of that. The GFOA Certificate of Excellence, so that has been submitted again for this audit. It will go tonight, but we did receive it for the fiscal 24. That is our 42nd consecutive. There are only 4 cities in Iowa that have 2 more years than us.
Who's that?
Cedar Rapids. I knew you were going to ask me. And I should have wrote it down. Floyd, Cedar Rapids.
Okay.
I'll let you know who the other 4 are. I even looked it up. There's 2 that are 1 year ahead of us and 1 that is 1 year. I know, we're pretty amazing that that's 42 years. So clearly I was doing this when I was 5 years old. But the other pieces in there that are the narrative version of what you all have accomplished in the last fiscal year since the last audit report, the transmittal letter, those are the Roman numeral section in the front. That's all the initiatives that have been approved by council that were material or strategic goals, all of those things. So it's a really nice narrative to encapsulate the stuff and the financials. That's though what it is in real words. So I always like to point that out. That's the best part of the document, and I even write it. So, it's at least layman's terms for what's happening. Audit report is in there. It's a clean, unqualified opinion. Like I said, very vanilla this year. The MD&A does a narrative version of the changes and stuff, so that is another version of narrative without getting into the numbers. The pieces that I always like to point out, because I know some of you like numbers, like I do, but the comparatives, the financials are only 1 year. So back in the statistical section, which starts on page 76, that's 10 years of data on everything from how many fire trucks do we have to how many parks do we have. And through all the taxes and all the levies and all the valuations, it's just a really good comparative. If you want to be able to look for what those trends look like, that's a really important section too. And then the budget to actual, that is the only other thing that you are statutorily required to show we are in compliance, and that is in the RSI, which is on page 60. Past that, I won't go into it because there is really nothing very exciting to say about the financial results. But it was a clean and unqualified opinion, which is my whole job, is to make sure that happens. But other than that, I just want to thank you for your support of that, the audit committee for taking the time to review it, and for my staff for doing another stellar job of making me not crazy during audit season. And we're right into budget. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but we did go through it quite a bit in the audit committee, so I won't belabor all of that. But happy to answer questions if you have them.
Thank you, Nikki.
I will note that I think in the future, we're going to be tracking splash pad numbers.
Yes, that'll be added in for next year in the stat. Since we lost the swimming pool number on there, we'll replace it and put in splash pads instead, yes.
Splash pad numbers as in numbers of individuals or budget?
Splash pads.
Numbers,
The
splash
count
pads.
of them. Back in the statistical section, we'd say how many parks, how many playgrounds. We had a swimming pool. We used to have the wading pools, but those have all been taken out. So splash pads, so we'll have Lions, and then assuming the CIP moves forward, we will have one out in Walnut Creek Regional Park after 26. So.
Thank you. And as Nikki said, I don't want to reiterate everything she said, but this is a very good document if you want to just get a good overall feel for the city and get a good snapshot for the city. Read the summary at the beginning, read the MD&A, and the historical trends in the back that's great information too. So it's a lot of numbers, a lot of information, but I think it can give you a good perspective on where we are as a city. So thank you, Nikki, for all your work on it. With that, is there a motion to accept it?
So move.
Motion by Bodie.
Second.
Second by Rosendahl. Discussion, please vote. That passes. Thank you. All right, item 9.2 is consider the purchase of furniture for the library interior renovation project. And Nicholas will answer any questions on this if there are.
Motion to approve council letter 8385.
Motion by Kroll. Second by Cacciatore. Discussion, please vote. That passes. All right. Item 9.3 is consider the service agreement for the overhead door maintenance and repair. Jan, answer any questions if there are on this.
Motion to approve resolution 310-2025.
Motion by Rosendahl.
Second.
Second by Kroll. Discussion, please vote. That passes. Item 9.4 is consider the memorandum of understanding for fire and emergency medical services consulting, and I'll turn it over to David to introduce this.
Sure. If you roll back the clock to probably about 9 months ago, start having conversations with the city of Clive about, finishing up those last agreements that the council approved. And we pretty quickly started having conversations about what are the next steps in terms of working together. And, one of the things that's been very impressive about Urbandale is we're not afraid to look at things, and we're not afraid to look at new opportunities, and are there additional opportunities that we're not contemplating today. So those conversations took place until the summer, at which point we started talking about having a consultant come in and review our operations on fire and EMS and look for additional ways to collaborate. And I'll talk a little bit about the range of those kinds of opportunities. And then very quickly we started looking at, well, what other communities, should we really invite to that conversation? And thinking about our growth and, the future growth of Waukee, we quickly engaged the city of Waukee and then did the same with Windsor Heights. And each community has unique needs and unique expectations. But that's really where the conversation stopped. We have to have a manageable project in terms of the number of communities that we're looking at. But very quickly, everybody at the staff level and the city manager level, fire chief and city manager level got on board, bringing on the Center for Public Safety Management, which is a division of the International City and County Management Association. They employ a number of experts and, fire chief experts, EMS, data analysts. And so this is a very unique study that we would look at what are the possibilities moving forward. And so in explaining this, having conversations with some of the staff, we really have a very open mind. I do not know what the results of this study are going to provide. And it could be anything from very small opportunities for some of those 4 cities all the way up to and including major possibilities for all four fire departments. So we're going in with an open mind. We're going to share costs. Urbandale is the largest city, would have 45% of the cost, so it's about $65,000 and change. We expect the study to take about 8 or 9 months, and all 4 city managers and all 4 fire chiefs would be engaged as a steering committee and be bringing back information and bringing back and really taking a hard look at as those results come in, as the opportunities come in. And there'll be lots of opportunities for discussion and engagement as that happens. A couple things I just want to mention as far as, why might we look at a study like this? Number one, we have, I think, unquestionably achieved a high level of success working with Clive on everything from the Station 43 cost-sharing agreement to the closest unit response. Our maintenance agreements and apparatus sharing agreements are fairly new, but at the same time, what are the next steps, and are there other communities that we could look for something similar either now or in the future? And the other thing is that the State Fire Marshal's Office is looking at opportunities. I don't know exactly what the results of that will be in terms of who all get what all the data and what all the information is, but we really feel like this needs to be data driven and really specific to the communities based on their goals and their response times. And so we want to be out in front of that. We want to have information to go alongside that. It's no secret that at least since 2011, there's been pressure on cities to look for ways to do things more efficiently in terms of property tax collection. So I think that is, people can sit around and wait for things to happen, or we can get out ahead of it and know where the opportunities are. And we're not afraid of that. We're not concerned about the opportunity to come back and have an honest conversation about pros and cons and opportunities, whether those are little things or even potentially bigger things. So got Joe Pazzo from the Center for Public Safety Management is on the electronic call. The way this will work structurally is the City of Clive is the fiscal agent, so they actually have the agreement. I did attach that to the agenda so that everybody can get comfortable with what the agreement says. What we're actually approving tonight, what I'm asking the council to approve, is a memorandum of understanding, which would authorize me to execute that, and all 4 cities would ultimately execute that, and then we would pay bills on a reimbursable basis subject to that cap that's laid out in the council letter. The City of Clive Council unanimously approved this last Thursday, and so we did that intentionally because they're the fiscal agent, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Well, I just want to say I think this is fantastic. Our partnership with Clive is one of the things that I'm most proud of when we talk about government efficiency and accountability. And I would love to scream this from the rooftops, if you know what I mean, and let people know that we are taking initiative ourselves in finding better ways to provide services and potentially pay less for more service. So I think this is fantastic, and I love to see that we're including the other communities. I think it makes a lot of sense. given how long we are to go from one end to the other. So I'm very excited about this, and I appreciate your continuing our legacy of Metro cooperation and collaboration.
Absolutely.
Ditto.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree, but where will our share of the funding come from?
Nikki, do you recall how you were going to pay for this? I've been immersed in the details of the agreement.
It will come out from the professional services line from a couple different areas because it wasn't planned for. So
Right.
we'll work it through. I don't know if the timing ends up that some of it will be in 27, some of it will show up in the 27
That's exactly what I
budget
expect.
that we're.
Yeah.
So it kind of depends on the timing. If some of it comes through this year, we have anticipated savings in a couple of areas that we can cover this year, and then we'll budget for the remainder.
And just to add on in terms of I think I said 7 to 9, somewhere 7 to 9 months. Don't be surprised if, as we get into this, that does take a little bit longer. They've done a number of studies. They're confident in that number, but we do have 4 different jurisdictions. We have a lot of data to provide, a lot of data to review, and things take time to work through. So it will not be a negative thing if it takes 12 months, but we're going to work as fast as we can.
I move Resolution 323-2025.
Okay, motion by Bodie,
Second.
second by Carberry Montgomery. Discussion, please vote. That passes. All right, thank you. And Bridget, your comments were spot on. We have a long history of intergovernmental collaboration. This is just another example of continuing and extending that. So, kudos. So, thanks. Moving on then to item 9.5, that is to consider the purchase agreement for 4020 121st Street. David?
Yes, as the council knows, we had been tracking the property at 4020 121st Street. I'm going to probably spend a little more time going through some of the details on this, just to make sure that it's clear kind of how this came to be, because it may appear fast-paced, but these opportunities like this, that can be the case. So there's a couple different ways that in I would say all the properties that I've been involved with acquiring over my career, you would plan in a CIP for something like maybe a fire station, but if you knew that, well, we were going to go out and do some surveying and studying and determine exactly where it needs to be, and you can plan for that. We know we're going to spend money. We don't know exactly where it's going to go. So you'd put that in the CIP. But many times, like if we think about even our downtown acquisitions of late, and then a project like this, there's a plan, there's goals, there's a long-standing understanding that we know, for example, in this case, that Urbandale has a deficit in terms of the ability to meet demands and expectations in an indoor recreation space. And so there's been a variety of ideas presented and contemplated over the years. The rec hub is in the CIP. However, as we contemplated the CIP, this project was not on our radar. In the middle of the CIP process, this site saw a significant reduction in price, 2 full-size gyms, and the price became something we would pursue and be interested in and start to do the due diligence. There's a lot of due diligence to do, obviously, after the approval of a purchase agreement. But I just wanted to point out that for this kind of project, it's really being driven by an agreed upon need. There's existing plans, the 2018 plan that identified the deficit. So we wouldn't be necessarily pursuing this in a vacuum. We would want to be pursuing a project like this to address a need that the policymakers had identified or agreed with. And so that's the case here. This is a 20,856 square foot building, just under 4 acres. The assessed value is 4.46 million. The asking price was 3.7. We've reached a tentative agreement for 3,200,000. We know we've got a couple of things that we really think are important to do. One is to make sure the floor is either brand new or in very good working order, and the purchase agreement contemplates giving the owner of the property the opportunity to sell because of the nostalgic value of the University of Iowa. That may or may not happen, but it's written pursuant to the verbal agreement that we made with the owner's representative. And we know that if we put a new floor in, that's about $250,000. We know that parking stalls, there's 60 parking stalls. We expect for tournaments and demand that we would reasonably expect to need more than that. So that'd be about $350,000 between those two major projects in order to get the facility up and running. So staff have been through numerous times in the building. We have certainly a concept of utility costs, but there's a due diligence period, as there would be in any public acquisition. We'll be looking at those things more closely, and we'll be making sure there are no surprises on the building. I think it's, given all of the discussions about the opportunities for indoor recreational, I believe the public will validate this purchase immediately and significantly. So I do think it's a significant opportunity for the city. The question was raised about, do we look at taking something off the tax rolls? Absolutely. Every time, irrespective of the purchase, we are in our minds, we're thinking about taking something off the tax rolls, and is that something we want to get back on the tax rolls? In this case, I do really believe a public use there is a compatible use. It'll drive traffic. This area has done, I think, very well, but I'm not overly concerned. And when I compare that to, for example, trying to address that indoor recreation space with new construction, the delta is significant. So I know it's a fast-paced decision in terms of the public discussions of the things that are in the CIP, but I think it's a unique opportunity, and I do believe that it will be something that will be instantly validated in terms of the types of offerings that the Parks and Rec can do in there. So happy to answer questions. Obviously, the closing is anticipated prior to March 1st. We do have some due diligence time frame. We will get it appraised, and we'll make sure that there's no surprises in terms of this acquisition.
David, we all are aware of the relationship that the city has with this property, but because we have such a great audience, can you talk a little bit about how the city already uses this space?
Well, we do have programs in the facility. I would say it's a limited to moderate amount of programs in the facility now, and we pay for that. So those costs do go away. But we are familiar with the facility from offering those Parks and Rec programs, but obviously having ownership and the ability to program a wide array of offerings is going to be a game changer. I can't imagine a better, honestly, facility to do what we've been trying to figure out how to do in a number of different ways.
But our existing use of that really demonstrates the need for it as well. So not only that we're going to be saving money by buying it, but it does validate the fact that we've already been using it for some time through our programming. So
right, and just it's somewhat connected to the CIP discussion on the Rec Hub project. Obviously, that all of that was put into the CIP with the expectation that that's how we were pseudo-solving a small portion of the indoor rec space. This is way better. And so that project will come down by a significant number. We just have to finalize that and bring the council a little bit more detail on that so that you can make the policy decision on it.
Do we think from a CIP perspective, we're going to be able to see kind of a better projection, at least numerically, what the rec hub would look like?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes. And, you know, and I'm always reluctant to throw a number out when we're this close to having the experts come in and say that this is what it could look like. I mean, the bottom line is if the number's not significantly lower, then we have to have the conversation about, does the project even go in the near future? And but I do expect to be able to articulate, why a project should stay in the CIP, but much smaller. And we're talking hundreds of thousands. The existing CIP, I think, is 2.275. And so we're talking about a number about a quarter in that range, the size of what's in there. And it's all because this opportunity presented itself in the midst of that work. And that's not unusual to have that opportunity. And a CIP is a planning document. It's important and it's critical, and we borrow money and but it doesn't authorize a project. It doesn't, it's not a be-all, end-all on the project. It's an important, critical planning document, but it doesn't, we don't go out and start building things without a separate policy decision. And I think that's important to remember too, as far as the planning. So I wouldn't want to give up unique once in a generation opportunities to look at things just because, the CIP is critical, but it doesn't capture every major capital investment that you make over the course of a year. It's a city of 50,000. It just can't. So.
Well, I'm incredibly excited about this project, especially because I feel like it is much more centrally located than most of our active park space in Urbandale. So I like that it's west, just a little bit west of the interstate, but I think it'll be centrally located. And obviously, we've had, such limited access to indoor recreation space. I'm looking forward to learning how to play pickleball in this space, Jen. So, I just think that this basically fell in our lap is, after, our planning process before any of us were on the council in 2018, but then, we had the other project that spectacularly failed for Walnut Creek Regional Park. I just think this is, which was way, way more expensive. So I'm just really excited about the possibilities that this presents it to our community. And I think we are going to be able to fill it all the time, maybe too much. So I'm glad we're still keeping the rec hub moving forward, because there is not enough space, even with the addition of these 2 full-size gyms. So I'm very excited.
I'm looking forward to watching Bridget learn how to play pickleball.
Same.
Are we allowed to move this?
Yep.
I'd like to move Resolution 322-2025.
Motion by Bodie.
Second.
Second by Carberry Montgomery. Discussion, please vote. That passes. All right, thank you, everyone. All right, we will now move on to external funding requests. Thank you, everybody, for being patient with us tonight. I know we have a number of folks here to present tonight. So I know a number of you have also done this a number of years, so I may sound like a broken record, but I kind of lay the ground rules for tonight is that we have a list of external funding requests. I will go through them. I'll call up each organization one by one. You have a chance to make a brief presentation. We already have your written presentations, your written comments that the council has and had an opportunity to review. There will be no decision made tonight, obviously. This is just for presentation. So we may have a chance to ask questions if that's, be patient, as the council may have a question or two to ask you. Certainly ask questions, but the process will be is sometime during our budget session in January and early February, I will appoint a subcommittee to review these further. The subcommittee and I will make a recommendation to the full council, which will be folded into the full budget recommendation. So we know everybody here, all these organizations, you know, I also say this, but it's true. Every organization on this list, without a doubt, makes a positive impact to our community. And we know that. I can see by looking down the list how you can make a positive impact to your community. So we know that we can leverage our funds to help you increase your impact. So that's what we're trying to do. But our funds are limited as well. So we obviously will not probably be able to fully fund every single request here, but we're going to do our level best to at least make as much of a positive and maximum impact that we can with city dollars through your organizations that we possibly can. So with that, I don't know if we're just coming back or not. We'll give her a second here. If you bear with me just a second until we get Councilmember Carberry Montgomery back here.
Does she have any snack food?
I don't think so.
Hopefully she left her supper.
I have a large stack of applications, if anybody needs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There's one hard copy set.
I can't get it.
We waited before we made any presentations. So the first organization is Urbandale 4th of July celebration. Mary?
Well, Mary's going to do all the talking, but as yeah, as president of the 4th of July Committee and a lifelong Urbandale resident, I just want to thank the City Council for the ongoing support. I mean, this is truly a great community activity. Glad to be one of 20 volunteers that organizes this every year, and we couldn't do it without your support. So, thank you.
All right. I'm the Vice President, Sean Dingler. I'm not originally from Urbandale, but this is one of the most beautiful things that I think that lets me get used to this community, and I've really enjoyed taking part. And as the parade director, there's no better feeling than coming out right before the parade starts at 10 a.m. and seeing those the streets lined with people.
Especially the red paint.
Yeah, the red paint, sorry. But I appreciate the new paints for there, so I don't have to go out there and mark the lines anymore. So I greatly appreciate that part.
So I wanted to include these two because I want to recognize Tim Mueller, who stepped in as our chair, 5 years ago? 6? 7, thinking it would be a one-year term, and he's been there for 7 years. And I'm Mary Polson, 6840 Mill Pond Drive. I have the pleasure of being the treasurer of the 4th of July Committee. Many of you will recognize that I've submitted the grant request for maybe the last 5 years, but this is my first time of being up here to explain the request. My trip to Florida, unfortunately, was canceled. So with that said, you all know that the Urbandale 4th of July Committee is probably the largest in our metro area, and we cap it off every year with a tremendous fireworks display. As you've seen in our materials, we are asking for a significant increase this year. Last year, the city contributed $10,000 toward our fireworks display, which was a total cost of $35,000. We have already been notified by our fireworks company to expect at least a 15% increase in our fireworks costs, which would mean an approximate increase of $5,250. Now, our current show runs for approximately 30 minutes, and we have found over the past few years that 30-minute show and the time spacing of the shots is what we call our sweet spot. It's where we've gotten the most compliments. So if we considered decreasing our show to accommodate that 15%, that would have a significant impact on our show. So that's one of the reasons for asking for an increase for the city. The second is, if you're all aware, that 2026 is our country's 250th anniversary. And we'd really like to start off our 4th of July celebration with a big bang, and that being a drone show. That we would like to fly a 15-minute drone show with approximately 250 drones. And the cost of that is approximately $30,000 for a 15-minute show. We'd like to fly the drones in the vicinity of Lions Park, possibly using the football field or the high school parking lot as our launch pad. And so for some of you that might remember the Golden Girls and Sophia, so in the words of, she would say, picture this, the Urbandale flag flying over the city of Urbandale. Huh? Flag.
Raccoon laser eyes.
But then we would also have splashes of fireworks. We'd have an eagle flying over the city, so a lot of tremendous opportunity.
So it would start at the high school, and then you said then go to
It would stay in that vicinity.
in the high school area? Okay.
Yes, in the high school area. We cannot fly it directly over Lions Park because there are restrictions as to flying drones over people.
Yeah.
Same restrictions don't apply to buildings. So that's our request, and we thank you very much for considering our request.
And that would be, is that going to be visible? I mean, if you're going to have it, so that's going to be right before the fireworks display, Mary?
No, we'd like to do it on July 2nd
Okay,
to
I'm
kick
sorry.
off the whole
Okay,
celebration.
okay,
So we'd start it sometime during the street dance.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
bring a lot more people into
Yeah,
that area,
yeah.
you know, to kick off the celebration.
Gotcha.
And
Right.
to our knowledge, you know, we'll be the first in the metro to offer a drone type show. So
It is a nighttime thing.
Oh, very
Right,
much
right.
so, yes.
Yeah. So is there ever any possibility of substituting fireworks for drone shows in the future?
It's a possibility someday in the future, but I don't know that we're all ready for that yet.
Yeah, okay.
But if we can do a combination and kind of lead
Yeah,
into it, I think
this
it
is
could
a
happen.
cool
Yes.
concept, yeah.
yeah, and most of the drone shows, you know, they put together, I mean, the cost wise and stuff like that are only about 15 minutes versus a 30-minute fireworks show, so not quite there yet to have a full drone show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where would be like ideal viewing, like anywhere in the park for the drone show?
Anywhere in the park, anywhere around the high school.
Would it be high enough so the trees wouldn't
Yes.
impede?
Yes.
Could you put some raccoons in there?
In the drone show?
The laser eyes, yeah.
Yes, I'm sure we could have a raccoon. Oh, all right, we have the
Blake
art at
has it
work.
all.
Certainly can, but then there's that flag.
All right.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is Urbandale Legion Post 663.
Hi, Council. You guys look like a lot of the members of my Legion Post the first time I stepped up to lead as the second vice commander. I bring down the age of my average veteran by about 40 years and by at least a couple of feet. My goal at my American Legion Post, now that my kids are older and my husband works nights over at the city of Urbandale and their police department, is to help my veterans where I can. I've got a lot of aging vets, a lot of them with mobility issues. Little cantankerous from time to time, but they're a good sort of people. I also want to bring some of my younger vets, more maybe, you know, my age, whether that's Operation Enduring Freedom, Iraqi Freedom, or even the first Desert Storm, into the post, help them through like the burn pit registry, presumptive positives, all those things that maybe they've kind of fallen off of knowing what the VA has to offer them. I also want to bring life back to an aging post that was built 1943, I think is when the Dixon Hall first got started, and has just kind of aged over the years like most of my veterans. We're still active in the community where we can. We sponsor an active 5th grade essay contest through various schools here in the metro, where we teach 5th graders flag etiquette, what the flag means, how it's the history of the American flag. We enter it then into we award cash prizes to those 5th graders that win based upon our judging, and submit them onto a district and state level contest. We also sponsor students at a junior level to the Boys State program, which sends them to, I believe, a week-long school or summer program that kind of helps get them involved in a civic experience and opens them up to scholarships that are only available to those that graduate through that Boys State program. The other thing that I'm really hoping, if it's kind of a pie in the sky ask, which really takes up the bulk of our big dollar request, which I'm told is the most ambitious request at this point in Legion history, I need to slap a coat of paint on the interior of that Legion Hall. I know it's kind of putting a Band-Aid on an arterial bleed if we're getting right down to it, but I asked my 16-year-old daughter and a friend of hers to walk in and tell me what would prevent them from renting that space for a birthday party, or if they're envisioning like a dance, and they said, "Mama, it smells like old people and it's yellow." They're not wrong, right? I asked them to be brutally honest. So there's a lot of little fixes and grants I'm looking up. You know, I'm trying to temper some of my sweet aging veterans who see this young gal with big ideas who talks real fast and is real enthusiastic. I'm trying to play one Legion post off the other and say, hey guys, the Waukee Legion, a Home Depot grant got a brand new kitchen remodel. Why can't we do that for our kitchen? While also saying, I know we're asking for a lot more money. Just trust the process, guys. We can't get it if we don't ask. We're wanting to bring life back to that Legion Hall, hopefully partnering with some of the revitalization efforts that we're seeing, like the Spark of the City, bring it back. I had a great talk with Aaron in the economic development of what that could look like. He ping-ponged ideas off of me. There's a lot of enthusiasm for what that post could look like, and I'm excited, and hopefully we can work together to make it happen.
All right.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Wait, I have a question or a clarification.
Thank you. I forget that not everyone knows what's happening inside here.
I love your excitement and enthusiasm, and I do really feel that the Legion Hall is critical to what we're trying to do. So I'm glad that you're excited about what we're excited about, and hopefully we'll be able to figure out a way to work together. But my question is related to the flag essay contest. So I live in the Waukee School District. There is a lot of kids from Urbandale that go to elementary school in the Waukee School District. So I'm a little confused about how you're expanding this or wanting to expand it. And would those kids in the Waukee School District or other, we send kids to a lot of different school districts.
Yes, and that's something I would.
Eligible.
I honestly would need to take it back to my officers. I can't be the only one making the decisions as much as I would love to. We've got to have some checks and balances. Ideally, the most logical to me would be anyone that resides within our Urbandale postal codes, because like you said, we have so many.
You've just said a very touchy.
I mean, the main two that I'm aware of. As a
Maybe just have an
starting
Urbandale
point.
address.
Urbandale address, okay. But also, beyond that too, we have kids in private schools.
Yep.
We have a lot of people that homeschool or do an online schooling component. There's a lot of students right now that I think we hit 3 schools. I want that to be bigger.
I would love to see you guys figure out a way to be able to offer the essay contest to all students that reside in Urbandale.
Yes.
And however you do that is up to you guys, but I love that you're thinking about it.
I want to bring back the oratorical contest too.
I love your energy. I'll just say that. So, but that's just my 2 cents on.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Because we do.
There's a Post-it here, so I'm going to write that down before I forget.
So, and don't ever say zip code either.
No,
that is bad right now.
No zip code, address.
Working on it.
Yeah.
Working on it.
Not yet.
Address and then, if I don't write it down, I'll forget. Any other questions before I step away? Oh, one last plug. If there is anyone here who has joined or is currently serving in the military and is not a member of Urbandale Legion Post 663, we would love to have you. Dinner is on Thursday, starting at 6 p.m. We'd love to have you there. Olive Garden donated lasagna.
I have a quick question for you
Yes, sir.
as well. On the form, the total ask is 18,900. Then I see in your letter, it looks like 20,100.
This is really embarrassing that you're making me admit this on the microphone, which is also a live stream, but I'm really bad at numbers, and I did not add that well. Nikki caught that after. I had corrected the form and then did not submit the correct form. I know that there was a portion of the application form that said you could not send a revised form except to rescind it. So if the original has to stand at the lesser amount, I would prefer to do that rather than face a rescission. My apologies for the error.
It's okay,
I kind of
thank you.
spaced the grant until about an hour before it was due.
Was
And-
not my intent to embarrass you.
Oh, no, hey, I'm all about accountability, and the company I work for, we love public shaming, so that's on me. That's on me. Were there anything else? All right. Thank you, council. I appreciate the time.
Thank you. Next is Greater Des Moines Partnership.
Good evening. Amanda Briggs, Greater Des Moines Partnership. Firstly, I just want to thank you for your years of investment and collaboration in us. Also want to let you all know that Tiffany does send her greetings, and sorry that she could not be here. And so I'm kind of in her place, but she is actually on a Metro City visit currently to learn and share different ideas with them, so and best practices. Partnership's purpose is to drive economic development or economic growth and talent development with public policy as our supporting strategy. Through the investment and support of private and public partners like yourself, Central Iowa continues to grow. The request this year is just to continue with your 5-year pledge. And I'm actually going to turn it over to Stacy Levon now with our team to talk about our 2025 economic development results and our 2026 priorities.
Thanks, Amanda. Good evening. Happy to share with you kind of where we landed in 2025. The information we submitted was through October, so a couple of my numbers may be updated. I'm just calling that out up front as I go through those because we've now counted through November. So we have conducted 26 recruitment trips promoting Greater Des Moines as a place to do business. That is through trade shows, recruitment trips where we go into a community and another metro area and just have meetings back to back talking about how great Greater Des Moines is, as then attend site selection and industry conferences to promote the region. This has resulted in 338 appointments outside the state of Iowa promoting the region. We also have hosted 4 global site selectors to the region where our local partners were able to come in and meet and greet and learn what the site selectors are seeing out there across the nation. We have generated now 140 leads this year that are qualified prospects who are looking at growing or expanding here within our region. And we have closed 28 successful projects. From a public policy perspective, just want to talk a little bit about our efforts in the last legislative session around the property tax discussions, focused on protecting new growth and the TIF agreements that are in place. We also hosted a successful 2025 DMDC trip, which I know several of you were a part of, and thank you for your participation. It really makes an impact when we can take as many business leaders as we do out to DC to talk about the issues that are important to us. From a talent development perspective, we continued the growing the Legacy Project with 266 participants. 8 of those were from the Urbandale schools. We also hosted 517 Des Moines Intern Connection participants from 68 colleges and universities. As we move into 2026, we will continue on the path that we're going. Last year, we set a 3-year goal. By the end of 2027, we want to land 90 projects investing within our region. Of the 28 we did land, that was a $1.7 billion investment within our region and 1,500 jobs. So we want to continue that momentum by identifying new leads, at least 100 new project leads, and really working toward closing several projects that we already have in the pipeline. We also are going to be leaning into AI and innovation and really creating the region as a center for AI and innovation excellence. And this includes working with our universities and really identifying how we can help bring some of the innovation that's happening within them and work with them to train our workforce in the skills that they need moving forward. And we are creating an AI skills and fluency tool to help workforce capacity. Happy to answer any questions, but really appreciate your partnership over the past many years. Look forward to what 26 has to bring.
I wanted to thank you for including advocacy around public transit on your priorities. This council is very committed to DART and its success, and I would love to see the partnership really lean into that priority and help us advocate at the state level, and with your advocacy around property tax changes, remembering that DART is a special beast in the best possible way. As we have those discussions, I'd really appreciate that.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that feedback. And DART is important to our region.
All right.
I had a question for you related to, this is wonderful, all that you're describing in terms of getting new leads, et cetera.
Sure.
Can you tell us a little bit about retention of those that we have here? It seems to, it's kind of challenging now.
Absolutely, and we have a program where we work with the city of Urbandale. So for Urbandale, we work with your economic development, so Aaron and Ebony, to go out and be talking with our companies, hearing what's happening within their company, what's happening in their industry, how can we support them to be successful here and to remain within, we're focused on remaining in the greater Des Moines region, but when we're talking to Urbandale companies, making sure they're staying here in Urbandale. So there is we had over 500 and some meetings, 350 different companies that we met with last year.
In the region?
In the region.
That's
in
great.
addition to what we did outside of the region.
Thank you. Thank you.
When you talk about like a focus on AI companies, is that specifically, or I guess maybe you have some context there?
So when we're talking about leaning into AI, it's really into, it can be technology around our key industry sectors. So what is needed to help our local employers be successful? It's also helping build the workforce that is going to have to use AI tools, and how do we get them skilled up so they are ready?
Gotcha.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Des Moines Children's Museum.
Do I do the address and everything?
No, you don't. It's fine. Just introduce yourself. It'd be fine.
I'm Julie Burtnett with Des Moines Children's Museum. I'm the executive director and one of the co-founders. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for all your service, Mayor and council people. We are Des Moines Children's Museum's all open-ended play. I want to give like a little info in case you're kind of like, I'm not sure about it. And we primarily serve that like infant to about 9-year-olds. We are in Valley West Mall right now, and that mall is in the news enough. And so it will be probably closing within the next year. Would be our thing, and we need to get out of there before that. So we have identified a property after doing a feasibility study. We've started a campaign, and we're actually going to be purchasing that property before the year is over. So we are having a $3.5 million campaign. We're a pretty new organization, so this was kind of our big first try on something like this. And we now are sitting at 288 is what we've gone in pledges and fundraising. We've been very lucky that we have created something that there were families that had been coming to us that had some experience and had lots of connections, which was a very nice surprise for us. What we're asking for is $5,000. Right now we'll be doing renovations all of like mid-January and February, March, and April, so we know that can't count, because if we're doing our job well and the construction people do it well, hopefully we're not going to have too much to do by the end. We've never done a huge renovation of 26,000 square feet. We've always been doing things in like a 10,000 square foot kind of space. So then there's also exhibits. And so the exhibits that we are presenting was, I'm giving you two options, really. Really, we want you on our donor wall. So 5,000 is that donor wall. We want those families to come in and sit there and point and be like, hey, that's where we live right there. That's kind of the big thing. But the two exhibits that I would go towards is either musical instruments, or if you've ever seen these big blue blocks, they're Imagination Playground. They travel really well into communities because we go to lots of different events. And throughout, not just West Des Moines, like we go to Waukee, we go to Clive, we go all sorts of places, a lot of Windsor Heights. And we'd like to be able to continue doing that and having some more exciting things to do. And those are both things that we would not purchase until after if we got funding. Do you guys have questions?
I was at an event last week, and I feel like, do you have signage up for your new space?
We have, are you asking me what the space is?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll tell you the space. Yes, when we travel, we have had that information up. It's a little bit of a weird place, okay? So that's why I didn't want to just say, it's 1200 12th Street in West Des Moines. So if you know where Guide 1 is or Business Solver, it's behind there. It's on 7.5 acres of land. It's the old Des Moines and Golf and Country Club from before 235 came through. And so you can't see it from the road, which seems like a disadvantage, but we've been in a mall with no signage for 8 years and we're okay. So it'll take a little bit for people to get there, but we like it because we've always had it where if a kid runs out of our space, you know, we get in front of them right away. We're like, where's your parent? Where's your adult? But that way, if they do run out, they're not on a major road. It's a safety kind of thing. And it allows us to have the growth potential as the metro continues to grow. Also allows us to add parking if we need to later. And everyone wants us to do really cool outdoor stuff. And I'm like, hold on. We need to just do the inside first. But yes, we'll probably be having quite a few outdoor things.
It's exciting.
Yeah. Any other questions? I didn't mention how many. Did you guys see that? I just pulled it out because we had over 69,000 last year come through, but 17,450 were from Urbandale. I know you guys have some zip code stuff, and I know that. Don't worry, I put that in my application. I was like, oh. But in that, it's 7,681 adults, 9,173 kids. And I always loved the under one, so 595 little babies came through that were under one. So it's a good place for families of young kids.
All right. Great.
Do you track the, I just love the library card program. Do you track that by library usage?
So you guys changed the program.
Yes.
So I will be talking to the people in charge of it again, because in the past, they give us the numbers. So yes, we track it on our side. We don't try to reconcile it because if someone's trying to scam us and giving us a fake one, they need to come in. They just need to come and play, like if that's their thing. But yes, I did not look up the data from last year, and it wouldn't have sounded good because it pretty much ended in January until July, August. I'm not sure. The library gentleman left now, but yeah.
I just think it's a fantastic program,
Yes.
and I love that you guys are party to it.
Yes, I mean, we are dedicated to making it affordable for people, and then even if our low prices aren't affordable, you can check out from the library. And then we also do museums for all, so anyone with SNAP, WIC, or EBT gets in for $2.
Great.
So those things will not change. We'll probably have to make the price go up a little bit, but not for that. Those are all going to stay nice and steady.
Great. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, next is Jayhawk Soccer.
Hello, good evening. I'm Brian Jones. I represent Jayhawk Soccer, and we thank you for your support over the years. And my presentation will probably be pretty brief. We're asking for $10,000 to help offset. One portion of that is our annual parking lot payment that we pay to the city. We would like for help for that. And then the other part of that is for some equipment. So we have soccer goals that we use. It's kind of our main thing that we need on soccer fields here at Martin Field, and as well as Upper Walker here at Walker Johnson Park. And those are starting to age, and with weather and everything like that, we've got 2 more pairs that we need to replace. And then we'd also like to add some aluminum benches for the teams that we have on the sidelines, so that when we receive teams that come in from out of town to play our teams here in Urbandale, we want to be able to have something for the teams to sit on. So we just have what we consider a modest ask for $10,000 for those things. Okay. Any questions?
With the bench, like, are those like permanent install benches, or are those things you kind of haul in and haul out?
They'd be temporary, and so we would move them in and out based on the season and the games, and then we would store them near the shed that we have here at Martin Field.
All right, thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Next is Urbandale Lions Club. Tim.
Good evening, Tim Fitzgerald, 15805 Winston. You guys probably know that from all the notes I send you, though. First of all, I just want to thank the city for all the support they've given us over the years. We really like to thank you for your support last year in particular. It helped us purchase a new tent, so knock on wood, it'll be a little easier on all of us that are getting a little bit older and not as strong to lift a 50 by 50 square tent up now. That really helps that's our biggest fundraising event, the bingo at the 4th of July. So we're also wanted to mention thank you guys for helping us find a new location for the tent in the Lions Park after the renovations. Really appreciate that, and making room for us as part of that as well. We did find a new tent. It's still going to be the blue and yellow. It's going to be square. So as a consequence of that, what we found is that we can have a little bit more space in there, we think. So we're asking the city for $1,000 to add a few tables, a little bit more room for people, lights, just some kind of miscellaneous things we got to do to fill out the space a little bit better to help us with our fundraising efforts and give back to the city. So appreciate your support in the past. Appreciate your time tonight. One last thing I'll mention quick, it's not lasagna, but we are having a chili cook-off on Thursday. So at our meeting, 6:30, if you're welcome at the Ralph Wilton Shelter, Lions Park. So if you guys like to join us, let Mary know. She's the one that put me up for that. So, but appreciate your time. Happy to answer any questions as well.
All right.
Thank you.
Great, thanks, Tim. Pat, did you have something?
We need a judge.
Anybody want to jump?
Sounds like a job for the mayor.
I'm not in town.
Well, I have a conflict. They did ask me, but
Yeah, I have a conflict as well.
you gonna be able to be? 6:30 on Thursday?
We said we wouldn't make any decisions, and here we are making decisions.
You got it, Joe?
This calendar's
Yeah, I can do that.
not like
You got Joe?
Go, Joe.
Represent well.
I'm going to judge your chili.
Yes? You bring your own Tums. I'll bring them for you.
All right.
I like spice. I like it hot. I like heat.
Okay, next is UCAN. Eileen.
Hello, I'm Eileen Bogus, the Director of the Urbandale Community Action Network, and I would like to thank you for your past support. Just so you know, UCAN provides essential support and resources for to Urbandale residents, fostering a stronger, more resilient community. I started on June 30th as the executive director, and since just June 30th, we have done the following programs: school supplies for the Urbandale School District, backpack buddies for weekend meals, and we've also been for Urbandale High School and Urbandale Middle School, food rescue for Metro West students. We've been then giving some of the food rescue to the Urbandale Public Library Pantry and the Urbandale Food Pantry. We have donated coats to the Johnston Partnership Clothing Closet. We've done a fall cleanup for seniors, snow pants and snow boots for Urbandale elementary students, as my outfit shows, that we are doing Adopt a Family. We have 115 families this year, which is more than double than we did last year. And the main thing that we're trying to do next year, we have adopted the Assisted Rides program, which is what the Grimes Volunteer Support Services uses, in which volunteers can self-assign themselves to rides for the assisted rides. So we're really trying to find people that have flexible work schedules or work from home. For like example, my husband's in sales. He has a open schedule, and he can look at the rides and say, oh, I'm free Thursday afternoon, I can take that ride. And so by getting more and more volunteers in, we can provide much more transportation for people beyond seniors, which is one of the Urbandale City's your strategic plan is transportation, so UCAN is trying to fill that role for you. Therefore, we are asking for $85,000 in operational costs, so we can continue at our location at 7517 Douglas Avenue, Suite 16 and 17, which they moved in March. Any questions? All right, thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Eileen. Appreciate it. Next is Urbandale Food Pantry. Patty?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us, Mayor, community council members. Urbandale Food Pantry truly appreciates all of the past support that we've had over the years. And wow, what a year we've had, opening up the doors to our new food pantry, launching at the community hub, and welcoming on Project Iowa and WIC, who are both operating out of the building multiple times a week, navigating a shutdown and delay of benefits most recently, and then also as a participating site for the Healthy Kids Iowa program over the summer months. So it has been a pretty big year for the Urbandale Food Pantry, and we couldn't have done any of that without the support from the city of Urbandale. Historically, the support from the city has typically come in the form of supporting our rent that we had at our old space and then transitioning into the new space, some operational support. This year we took a little bit different approach. If you have been to the Urbandale Food Pantry anytime over the past several months, you may notice that our parking lot needs some additional support. And so we have engaged Bishop Engineering and got their support in putting together the site plan, surveying, and just a lot of documentation for completely rehabilitating the parking lot in 2026. It'll actually expand the current parking lot, provide 12 additional spots, and then just make it a little bit more safety for all of the clients, volunteers, and staff that are coming in and out of the pantry. And as we, in 2026, continue doing the wraparound service policy, welcoming on some additional community partners, I think the parking is going to be a big piece of that, and making sure that we have adequate space and parking to be able to continue doing the great work that we're doing. So I would be happy to answer any questions that you all have. I know my packet of information was probably a lot.
Yep.
But yeah.
Questions? All right. Thank you, Patty.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate it. Next is UGRA.
All right, good evening. I'm Nick Zander. I am the newly elected Fundraising and Grants Committee Chair for Urbandale Girls Rec Association. First, thank you all so much for the opportunity to present our proposal to you all, as well as your support throughout the years. Just a little bit about the program. We are a local program that provides softball and volleyball recreationally to all of the Urbandale girls and surrounding communities. Our intent is to provide them with a structured athletic participation and social interaction with the girls, but our main focus is to provide a healthy and safe environment for the girls and to have fun with sports. Another prong of our program is a competitive side where we are able to host tournaments at our lovely fields that are 100% volunteer kept. And so with doing that, we're able to have tournaments from April to October to have multiple people throughout Iowa as well as other states come and participate at the fields and bring in some revenue for the program. And what we're requesting this year is $5,000 for our parking lot grant or parking lot payment. That will help and aid in allowing those people to have the ability to park at those wonderful spaces at the park so that we can continue to host tournaments and have enough space for those families. The other portion of that is for security cameras for the complex. This will provide just kind of an additional deterrent and provide additional safety so that we can actually keep track of everyone that is coming and going to the park. And part of the proposal, it does have like a license plate camera so that we can, if we have an incident, be able to hopefully help and aid in that situation. Any questions?
Any questions?
Is the camera in relation to an incident, or was this just kind of a way to enhance?
So an incident that we had kind of periodically is we have a trash that is actually to the south of the complex, and we did have just like minor kind of dumping over at and we're responsible for that, and it just kind of would always spill over, and so it's to help kind of deter that, and if anyone does that, kind of dumps more illegally, it'll help in preventing or helping to prevent that.
Gotcha.
Yep.
I know this space is shared with, I believe, yes?
Yep, soccer.
Okay, yeah. I was like, wait, I think I'm in the right spot. With this camera, is that something that would capture the whole of that complex, or?
So the cameras will actually be on the main structure that is around the fields, and they'll have cameras pointed out onto the fields, as well as a dedicated camera that can be pointed toward the entrance, or it's more than likely going to be pointed toward the entrance so you can see kind of comings and goings, since it only has in one direction to go in and out of the complex. But primarily it's going to be for the softball fields.
Thank you.
Okay. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Next is Urbandale Historical Society. Pat?
My name is Pat Finnerty, and I live at 4310 129th Street. And I'm representing Urbandale Historical Society, but I'd like to share with you what we're talking about. Forget that one. So you can pass that around. All I ask is the phone comes back.
Really?
But that happens to be a page from the Urbandale Press Citizen of June of 2000. So most of you on the council were just toddlers at that time, except for Bob. It just so happened, I didn't even realize this until yesterday, that it was talked about when Bob was selected to the city council at a tender young age of, what, I think 17?
Yeah.
Anyway, to be more serious, what we're asking for is for
Add
some...
20 years to that, Pat.
Yeah. For support for a project that we've been working on to digitize the Urbandale newspapers. Now, when I say the Urbandale newspapers, we also are including the Blue Jay Chatter and the school newspapers. What we haven't gotten up yet goes back to 1938. And if you think about it, in those early years, certainly the pre-war years, the Urbandale City and the Urbandale School District were, for all intents and purposes, one and the same. So if you want to look at some community news, you looked at the school newspapers. So that Blue Jay Chatter, so really those early days of pre-war and even shortly after the Second World War, that was our community. The Urbandale, well, it was the Urban Sun-Times and the Urban News and the Urbandale News, and that was back to, I think, the Urban News at one time, and then ultimately the Press Citizen. Many of these are already digitized. They're available on through AdvantageArchives.com, and then you go there, search Urbandale, and you can come to our specific website for us. What we'd like to do is complete the project. There are still a number of issues of the Press Citizen that are not available. We have a digitized form for the Urbandale yearbooks, high school yearbooks from 1954 to 2018, and we would like to get those up as well. There are directories, Urbandale city directories from the 30s and 40s and 60s, and they're not every year, but different eras, and we'd like to put those up as well. We have requests sometimes from people wanting to know, well, who owned this house, 20, 30 years ago, or actually more than that. And well, those directories will tell you quite a bit about who was where and what businesses were in the community. It's the heritage of our community. As we were going through these funding requests, the Urbandale 4th of July Committee, well, it just so happens on that front page is a whole lot about the upcoming 4th of July activities for the year 2000. The American Legion, I know there's a lot in our Urbandale newspapers on the American Legion, the Jayhawk Soccer, obviously the Lions Club. I do know that UCAN and the food pantry are mentioned because of the origin of UCAN and the food pantry back in 2099. UGRA, Historical Society, and then later you're going to talk about the Urbandale Booster Club. So all of these things, their heritage, their history, what makes us who we are, they're captured in that journalism, and that's something that is freely available. That's the beauty of it. It's going to be available to everybody. It is available to everybody. We've got a link with the library. The city will have a link on their website as well, and of course the Historical Society, so we're all coming in together. As you'll notice on the request, I put down that this is a community project. Historical Society has contributed some money. The Library Foundation has contributed some money. Urbandale, Endow Urbandale has, and we're asking the city because we want everybody to have some skin in the game. Questions?
Will you be correcting the typo here for Bob's age?
I can't do anything with that as such, but we could probably put something in as a disclaimer, if you will.
I have the picture when I was being sworn in too, Pat.
Oh, do you?
From the Urbandale Press Citizen.
Good.
Pat, I'm just curious about some of these older issues, the Urban News 1954. Have those paper copies been stored or kept someplace?
Some of them are in the library. One of the things that we found was when we were trying to track down where things were, a lot of it was already microfilmed. And as luck would have it, the company that we're working with actually bought the company that had the microfilm. So they had it in their vault, so bingo, it was all taken care of. The library has a number of editions of those. They're very friable. If you wanted to sit down in the library and look at them, I would suggest wearing white cotton gloves and hold your breath, because some of those pages, as you start to turn them, you end up with part of that page, So they're deteriorating. The Press Citizens, we have a number of Press Citizens already online, but there are several issues that we have that were not microfilmed there at the library, and so we'll add those. So what we're basically do is trying to fill in what we don't already have up. There is quite a bit of information up there. It's really kind of cool to go in and, find out when Bob was in his early days, if you will.
With hair, yeah.
Some pictures.
Yeah.
That wasn't gray.
Yeah. And they did have a police blotter at that time, so you can check on that. Yeah. Anything else? Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Pat. Next is Waypoint Resources.
Oh, Hello and good evening. I'm Melissa Stemple. I'm the Executive Director at Waypoint Resources, formerly Waukee Area Christian Services. So I first just want to start off by saying thank you for your past support. Though that investment in the capital equipment for a couple, I think 2 times over the last 2 or 3 years, really made a difference in some of our day-to-day operations. I know the most recent was a new cooler for our Anytime room, and our volunteers are loving it. Although Waypoint is based in Waukee, we serve families throughout Dallas County and the surrounding communities, including Urbandale. The families don't experience, we know, hardship by city boundaries, and the help they need should not either. Urbandale is a very important part of our service area, and many residents rely on Waypoint for not only food assistance in cooperation with the Urbandale Food Pantry, but we have clothing, health care, and navigation support. This year, our request was really simple and practical, replacing outdated computer equipment. The computers are used daily for intake, check-in, and coordination, helping not only our staff and our volunteers serve families more effectively. Our current computers are outdated and just really struggling to keep up with the growing need. The new computers will definitely allow us to run smoother, a much more dignified experience for our clients when they come in. We're not sitting there watching them spin. And on another note, as demand continues to grow for food pantries across communities, across the region, Waypoint is also thinking ahead about our space and our capacity. So although we're not asking for funding for building and operational things this year, we are starting those conversations, and we're planning for the future. Since Waukee and Urbandale share a boundary, we know that families move naturally between city to city, looking for support, not only for food, health care. And we are really looking forward to collaborating in the future with shared solutions and how Waypoint can be part of the broader community and broader solution to help families that are just desperately looking for help. And we love what Urbandale does, and Patty and I talk all the time about what's going on in our communities, along with Clive and Johnston and the other areas. So again, the support for the computers would be fantastic this year. Just wanted to also plant that seed for broader conversation in the future as well. So happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Urbandale Booster Club.
Good evening. My name is Drew Argetsinger, and I serve as the president of the Athletics Booster Club at Urbandale High School. We're a volunteer-led organization. We're dedicated to supporting the athletic opportunities for students in the Urbandale Community School District. In partnership with the school district, parents, and students, our board works year-round to raise funds and organize events that enhance the athletic experience for all the student athletes. These efforts help ensure access to resources that our district might not otherwise be able to provide. Tonight, we're asking for grant support from the city to help support the Urbandale High School baseball and softball programs. The requested funds would be used for things such as gloves, bats, and catching gear to promote player equity, as well as technology and training tools to support skill development. These items will help student athletes build confidence, strengthen their skills, and maintain competitive programs. More importantly, this investment supports teamwork, leadership, and pride in our schools, values that extend well beyond the field and strengthen the Urbandale community as a whole. And we thank you for your time and thoughtful consideration.
All right. Questions? Thank you. Appreciate it. Last is Shalom Community Impact Center. Is anybody here from Shalom? I don't see Eugene here tonight. Okay. All right, have I called every organization that I expect to be called tonight? Okay. Well, again, thank you everybody for your presentations. Thank you for your information. Thank you for everything you do for Urbandale, and we will certainly be considering everything and taking this as part of our budget considerations for next year. So we will certainly let you know as soon as we've made a final decision. So appreciate everybody's time tonight. All right, we will move on then to item 11, and that is to discuss the amendment to the 28E agreement with the City of Clive. David?
Start, and I am
My microphone is
Okay.
on.
All right. Jan?
Well, what we wanted to discuss with you tonight is we have, as you know, we have a 28E agreement with the city of Clive. When our pool closed in 2020, in 2021, we started an agreement with Clive where Urbandale residents get a season pool pass for the Clive resident rate, and then the city of Urbandale pays the difference. And I have up here today just showing the trends of how those numbers have been going, what we've been paying total amount-wise each year, and then just doing the math of the average cost per person. And as we're preparing, or we submitted our budgets and looking at different subsidies and so forth, Clive contacted us recently and said they're changing their fees, and instead of, in the past years, they did a household of 1, household of 2, 3, 4, 5, and they charged per number of people. They are changing to a flat fee of Urbandale or Clive residents is $60. Any non-resident is $100. So that is now a $40, would be a $40 City of Urbandale subsidy. That got our attention. Obviously, that has an impact on our budget. As you can see, last year, our total amount that we subsidized for 1,236 residents were $35,688. If we use, and again, 2014 was 1324, last year was 1236, so I put, if we used $1,325 at $40, we would be up to $53,000. So that is a $17,331 increase. So David and I were talking, said, we want to get some feedback from you in some direction as we go into the budget process. That's almost a 40% increase. What we would like to propose is to have Urbandale residents have some additional skin in the game, but still, as you can see here, it's been increasing a bit. Last year was $28.86, but to go to $30, where the Urbandale resident would have to pay $10 more than a Clive resident. So we still would, we're proposing still subsidizing Urbandale residents for $30, but $40 is quite a significant increase. And we are working with the city of Clive to see if that's possible in their software system. It's looking optimistic. But again, as we start looking at these and as impacts on budgets, not just this year as we go forward, but just kind of the mindset of, is this an indefinite subsidy that we're going to be doing for Urbandale residents as we start providing splash pads and so forth? Is aquatic subsidy for Clive something that we want to continue? This year is 5 years that we've been doing it. Certainly not an answer I'm looking for tonight, but just wanted to have that discussion in regards to subsidy. For Goldfish Swim School, it has been $25 that we subsidize Urbandale families, and they have indicated that that likely is going to increase to $30 as well. So that's what we're proposing for both aquatic opportunities is $30, where there's, we certainly are subsidizing for Urbandale residents, but not to that 40% increase. So happy to answer any questions or interested to hear your feedback.
I don't have any questions, but do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I guess so clarifying, the structure that in the first table is that they were doing an entrance fee per person. So if you just walk, like if you're if you had a family of 4, you'd be paying $28.86 per person.
Yep, I'll show you the invoice we received last year. It gives a better idea.
Okay.
So it was per pass sold, so 1 person, 2 person, I don't know what that is.
And this is season.
This is for the season Summer Aquatic Center pass.
Okay.
So the Clive Aquatic Center. So you can see the number of Urbandale residents, if their household had 3, 4, 5, 6 people. So that's how they broke it down, and now they are just going to a flat $60 for Clive residents, $100 for non-residents. So
And
just
other communities have previously taken that leap from all of these different pass structures to just saying how many people, and X amount times each one. And just to add on a little bit to what Jan said, the starting point of this is West Des Moines and Clive have a reciprocal relationship. And so they're moving their fee structure in lockstep. And then so we've just recently been notified to this. Our preference would be that, to address this through the software so that it's seamless to the resident. But if that can't be done, then we could, you're talking about a significant amount of increase here, and we could do the billing with our team, with our staff, and request people come in. That's not my preference, but at the end of the day, you're going to see more and more of these kinds of policy decisions from our peer communities, just from the standpoint of the cost increases to run these kinds of operations are, some of the more significant inflationary pressures that cities are seeing, because of seasonal labor costs and other factors. So it's just, we're trying to propose, at least to initiate the conversation here, to propose, like, as costs go up, we don't want to be in a position to just be riding coattail of just whatever the cost is, we're paying it. We need to identify, like, what is our strategy or our policy, because otherwise, as these costs continue to go up, we would cover, the taxpayers would cover all of this. We think there's got to be a better way to do that. So that's the thought behind it.
We made a policy choice to close our pool and not offer aquatics, and I was here for that. That was a really hard decision. We've chosen not to pursue an outdoor aquatic center, and for $53,000, it's a lot cheaper than operating a pool. So I really think we should continue to subsidize the difference, because we've made a choice not to have an aquatic center for a city of almost 50,000 people, which I think is one of our most significant deficits, in addition to indoor recreation space. So I advocated strongly for us to do this program, and I appreciate Clive's decision to change the way they're funding or offering the passes, but I think we need to offer an affordable option for Urbandale families to have summer outdoor recreation, and I think $53,000 is a pretty good deal. So that's where I stand on this.
And clarification, we're looking right now at just the Clive Aquatic Center, not Goldfish added in.
Correct.
And those are the only 2 we currently have agreements with, correct? Okay.
So I think I'm being a dumb bunny here. I'm not tracking what they did and what they're doing now. What did they used to charge for their, okay.
So they did it per household. And then there was so the difference between resident and non-resident. So the number of passes sold, the number of residents. So there's 2 people, so that is 150
passes.
And now it would be $200 for a 2-person.
Right.
Okay.
Non-resident.
Non-resident.
Non-resident. Yep.
And our residents were paying?
We did the math of essentially the $28.86, obviously the number of household and what number of people and so forth, but just taking the total number of residents divided by the total passes.
Under the
That was our
existing,
cost.
under the existing, it would be different for each based on the number of people in the household. Under the new system, it would be $40 per person for every person.
Okay.
Would be the subsidy, would be the amount that we would owe unless we
And they would
change it.
still be paying $60.
They
per
would pay
person.
$60. Oh, unless and until Clive makes further adjustments to their fee schedule.
Okay.
And we only see this price increasing over time, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean, cities, again, will continue, part of this is ease of administration, I suspect. It is much more difficult to administer, how big is your household and who are all these people and how are, those kinds of things. So you see more and more cities getting to, it's already, significantly reduced over a certain number of individual visits. I do have concerns that over time, we're in lockstep with whatever cost increases they do. And, would it be reasonable to ask residents to, if we're paying more, to also pay more? That's the question.
I think something that we want to keep in mind here too is that when we initially set up the agreement, we didn't have one existing splash pad, and there is now a second in the works from a CIP perspective. Not saying that it's a perfect equivalence, but like there is some type of aquatic something. It's not necessarily a replacement. I want to be clear on that.
Yeah, you simply cannot replace swim lessons or swimming experience. In my mind, when you look at, what's the leading causes of ER visits for kids? It's accidents. A lot of those are drownings in the summer particularly.
So I'm going to go back to my dumb questioning here again. I'm trying to understand how much, let's just say for the sake of argument, that we were to go ahead and pay the $40, all right? How much is it going for our residents to go just to the 60 from what they were paying before? And that depends on various household numbers, right? So can I get a better feel for that? Maybe go back to the other page again, or, because I guess where I'm coming from is they're already potentially going to experience a notable increase just by the restructuring of it. And so that maybe we don't want to pile on to that more increase if for $53,000 we can just be in alignment with the new increase that they would be experiencing. You with me? Does that make any
are
sense?
people paying when households, like last year, were paying in addition to what we were subsidizing, or we were just covering it?
No, Urbandale residents pay the Clive resident rate.
Right. And see, now that rate is going up for the Clive residents essentially somewhere. Again, I'm not tracking.
Well, I don't think we have what last year's passes cost. I almost guarantee you that a single pass cost for a Clive resident costs more than $60 for one person, a Clive resident.
Last year?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have that table in front of us, but I venture to guess that a single Clive resident paid more than $60. But where you get more money is when you get bigger households, and that's where the value is. I mean,
and I certainly can find that information for you.
I have very strong, deep feelings about this. When I was advocating for an aquatic center, I was told we could go to Lifetime. And a monthly membership at Lifetime for a family of 4 is 1 month. And that we should be supporting our private businesses and not having a pool. I mean, I got a lot of feelings about Aquatic Center. Jan and I have been through all of this, and I think we are getting a steal of a deal for our residents to be able to go have access to really 3 aquatic centers for us to be paying just $40 a person for that.
When you say 3 aquatic centers.
The Clive and West Des Moines are reciprocal.
Okay. So this would
if
apply to the
if you
others
have yes, if you have a Clive pool pass, you can go to the 2 West Des Moines aquatic centers.
Okay. I was not aware of that.
Well, I guess I'm still personally interested in understanding the increase that happens regardless of what we choose to do with changing our subsidy. If people are tracking that, I would be curious about that, because that would make a difference to me in terms of what I think we might want to do. The $53,000, I'm guessing, is something we can afford to do. On the other hand, you want to kind of prep people as things go up, but we don't want to get carried away with it. So I'm just kind of thinking, sounds to me like it's probably going up anyway, so that maybe this is not the time. But I'm not figuring out how to do the math fast enough. And usually I'm pretty good at math, so I'm missing something here.
Yeah, because it's not apples to apples.
Right.
Because last year is household.
Right.
And this is per person, but we
Right.
certainly can, so essentially of what last year a Clive resident paid, but also how much, if we can figure out the math of how much per person it was
A
last year.
little bit, yeah. The closer we could get to that, the better it would be to understand it.
Or
I
at least
think.
just know what was the person paying when they walked in the door. Well, yeah,
Yeah,
there's-
see what I'm saying? Yeah, and I see your point, like maybe a single person was paying more, but by the time you get to 2, 3, or 4 people in a household, it's probably starting to drop down, and it's these families we're really trying to
It's gonna be different
support.
for each type, but we can certainly do some spreadsheet work
We
on
had
that.
had a average thing or something, I don't know. Or it's the families, though, that we're really trying to figure out how to make, that's because where this gets really expensive real fast, is if you have a couple, 3 kids and you're,
And I think that's where it's incumbent upon us to figure out what's the policy long-term and at what point and how do we want to see that
yeah,
mature.
yeah.
Well, I'm committed to subsidizing this for the long term as a consequence of us closing our pool. So that's where I stand.
I think we're all in favor of subsidizing, it's just to what degree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my gut tells me that this is not the time to
Yeah, no.
go, to not do the whole thing for the subsidy. But
I'd agree with that.
But we've still got to be prepared for down the line, too.
Yeah.
I mean, if they decide to take it from $60 a person to $80 a person, or, you know, we don't know what they're going to do. So we should be thinking ahead a little bit. All right.
Okay.
Clive resident, might have been 2021, was $90.95 per person, and Urbandale was 155. I guess I'm not reading this correctly.
That doesn't sound right. Then it wouldn't be an
Oh,
increase
when it was
at all.
adopted in 2021. Non-residents, so Clive resident was $90.95. Clive plus a nanny was 155. Non-residents was 139, and non-resident, they have nanny rates in here. So 2 people was 128, 3 people was 171 for a Clive resident. So we certainly can provide this information for you. I believe Clive started selling their passes, or has been already, so.
It's part of the challenges.
Time
It's
is of the essence.
Been
but-
asked to respond very quickly.
Well, can we have something for the next meeting then, probably?
Yeah, we'll do it the next meeting. Because maybe the cost is going down. I mean, it's kind of hard to tell what's happening.
Yeah, it's different for each size family. Yeah.
All right.
Well, maybe one way to look at it is to target a family of 4 as a price point. And what did they pay and what would they pay now? And that could give us a feel for what we want to do. It's just a thought.
So is the thought then that next meeting we would have a couple of options to kind
Let's-
of walk forward with?
Yeah, we can certainly do some spreadsheet work and throw out a couple of different scenarios. Obviously, in the grand scheme of things, is a dollar amount, we can, I guess, debate whether it's significant or not, but, individually, programmatically, 39% increase, and, I do think once we get our arms wrapped around what the policy is going to be, then, we revisit the 2080 at the appropriate place to just make sure that we have some level of checks and balances so that we're not just moving in lockstep every time. That's the main thing is, to continue to pay 100% of whatever cost increase that somebody else decides you're going to do. I think there has to be a better mousetrap than that on the policy side.
We could build a pool.
Well, and can we also know what West Des Moines is doing?
It's the same price. That's West Des Moines and Clive put their heads together. Basically West Des Moines took the initiative first, is my understanding, in talking to the city managers. West Des Moines started this process. There's reciprocal relationship. So Clive then said, "Oh, we need to look at this too," and so Clive followed suit with the same approach of moving away from the old model to the new model.
But they have I see, but they've got a pool, so they're getting their $100 from an outside person.
Correct.
Got it.
Yeah.
One thing, and I don't know if this is part of the 2080 now, is there like notification mechanisms as part of that to kind of give us a little better lead time, or is that something that could be added to like a future 2080 as part of the?
I would have to review that specifically to see what the language is, but
I just think that would be worth considering, just from like a spirit of regionalism, right? We want to try and make decisions together, and although we're not the owners of these facilities, we definitely have a vested interest in providing aquatics and water safety access to. Not to tell them that you can't do certain things, but at least giving that extra head time.
Yeah.
And again, just, I want to be clear, there's no critical nature of the discussion here about what the other cities are doing.
Mm-hmm.
These are the conversations every city is having or will have in response to the cost increases in these areas and the pressure that is on them to generate more revenue to offset some of those expenditures.
Right. I did find Molly provided information that might be helpful. So last season, Clive residents, one person, so they did go away from the household thing I was referring to from our original agreement. So one person, Clive resident, was $90. So it's actually increased for Clive resident, and non-resident was $140. So they're going down $40 for one person. Two-person resident is $130. So there still be less now for Urbandale or Clive residents too. Two-person for non-resident was $190. So now it would be $200. Each additional for resident was $45. Right. For non-resident was $65.
And that's where the new revenue comes in.
So that's where they'll start. So for for a 3-person family this year would be $300. And last year would be $255.
$255.
So that's where, once you get past 2 people, you start incrementally increasing.
320, and it would 400 this year. Yeah.
So again, we can, if that's enough information for the dialogue, or we can certainly come back in January.
Can you just send that out to
Yeah.
us? That'd be great.
Yes, certainly. So we'll send a snapshot of what
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
last year's and then what we paid.
Okay. To be continued, I guess.
TBD.
Oh, go ahead, Pat, I'm sorry.
When you send it out,
Yeah.
I'm trying too hard here, never mind.
Okay, all right.
Worry about it later.
When do we need to give them an answer, or, I mean, they're selling passes now. I mean, my Facebook history has shown me promoting us buying resident rate passes already now, so.
Right. Christmas, some people buy them as Christmas gifts.
As of right now, they will be charging, my understanding, our agreement goes through 2027 at the current rate, so they will charge, my understanding, they'll charge them the Clive rate, and we will be paying $40
Right.
until if there's
Different
any change in your
approaches
policy.
authorized, yeah.
Okay. So
So we're locked in for this next season.
No, we could, in their software, they could charge, they can change
Oh,
whatever, so
okay.
they could charge an Urbandale resident $70 if we choose to change the subsidy.
But no action would just mean that we trace along with whatever that is.
Right.
So then we'd be subsidizing $40. Right.
Okay.
Yep.
I can do this math in my head, so that'll help me very much.
Okay. But yeah, it would be helpful the next meeting if any changes. We'd want to make that.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, Jan. All right, city manager's report.
Well, it's 8:06, so we have to throw out two options. We could discuss the CIP briefly if there's interest in that, or we don't have to do that.
I just want to be real brief on the CIP. I really want the solar project in there.
Right.
I really feel strongly and passionately about it, like you do about the pool. And I think that the 42nd Street, Fire Station 42 is just kind of a no-brainer, especially with the purchase that that we're planning to make for the visibility of it and the leadership of it. And it's a $300,000 project. It's just so doable. So I feel like if it's not that, it should be something else, but I really feel like that is a natural fit. And then just real quick, Jan, I got some additional info on the creek access piece, and they do cap those grants at $125,000 because they're trying to keep the capital going for the piece. However, assuming that we are selected, we don't have to build right away by any means. We can go ahead and get selected and then still move it up a couple years if we want, but they will not be paying out until we go to bid, I think was the process, which is something you probably all are aware of, but we could move it up a couple of years if we wanted to, because it's already in the out years. So those are just two things. But with the current purchase today on the west side, I'm less worried about moving up something, except for making sure we get the grant. But I personally just want to be on the record of, I really think we've worked hard to be able to do a solar project. I think it's important that we lead there. I think it's important that we demonstrate to our residents that renewable energy is kind of foundational and fundamental to what we're doing from this point forward. And that's one real way to help them see that and get that story. And I think it's affordable, and I believe it will pay for itself over time. And we in government do have some level of time. Plus, just as a practical matter, as we see our budgets maybe getting forced downward, our operational budgets getting forced downward over time, it makes sense to make investments while we still can that will lower our long-term costs. So I want to think about it economically as well. But my But in all honesty, my motivation for doing it is greenhouse gas emissions and demonstrating leadership there.
I'd 100% agree with Pat's statement. My experience with solar is it pays for itself pretty darn quickly. And yes, it's an upfront cost, but you're going to get that back in short order.
So I'm hoping that we get something like that inserted.
Right.
And if we can, I'd be, really happy camper.
What I would ask there, I mean, I made my recommendations on solar. I know I disappointed some council members, maybe all of the council members in making that recommendation, but, my job is to be honest about, some of the financial considerations. I do think these paybacks, without the incentives are going to be.
They're going to be longer.
Literally, maybe, outside the life of the infrastructure. But what I would say is that trying to figure, looking back to the conversation we had in the CIP, like, okay, how do we structure this in a way that gives us the maximum flexibility? All I ask is if the council wants to direct the project, I would just ask that it not be before 2027 because we need 2026 from a staff capacity standpoint to clear the deck on some of these other things. I think the beauty of that is it gives us the opportunity to refresh the strategic plan with the council in 2026, which we need to do, and have maybe deeper conversations on what where the priorities lie among the priorities. Like what are the super priorities? What are the moderate priorities? I think that's helpful. And then it also gives us a chance to report back, which we met last week, a group of us, and report back on the existing investment and just make sure that all that information is out there. So if the council wants to direct it, we would put it in the CIP wherever the council so directs. And we do think it's about a $300,000 project to do Station 42. But I would just ask that it not be before 2027. I just don't know that we're going to have the capacity next year to do it. That would be my ask on that. On the other one, I would just say we need to update the price. I think the number that was maybe in the original CIP is skinny, to use a technical term. And so I think that as long as the council is aware of, that's several $100,000s of local money that would need to go into that project. And I would just say, it could move to 2028. Right now, I think it's in an outer year. I don't even know if it's 2030.
It's out years. It's
it could move to 2028, and that gives us, again, some opportunity to move through the process before we are letting the project. So, that's my ask. Obviously, the council's the policy-making body. You can tell us where to put those projects, and then we'll have to figure out how to make it work. But I would say solar in 2027. Would be much better than solar in 2026, and we also will have the by the time 2027 rolls around, we will have bid the police headquarters, and the council will also have some real-time information there. It doesn't preclude the council from doing both of those things, but at the same time, that would be additional information the council could contemplate in terms of making that decision. So.
Well, I might suggest one thing, and that is with those capital projects in the CIP, we look at design and build, and those kind of separated sometimes. So perhaps we could at least look to the extent that we need a design for 2026, which for a 2027 project, to do the design piece in 2026. If you thought staff would have capacity to get that pulled off, that might be a nice way to get it moving forward.
And there might be some benefit for combining solar if we were to look at the police department and Fire Station 42, having two projects for bid together might bring in a better price. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I think though, yeah,
or at least timing wise, maybe you're doing one bid versus two or whatever.
I think they would be, those bids would be attached to the construction of the project rather than to the solar component itself. I would just say that if you want us to design the project in 2026, we'll have to look for some things that can get pushed back.
All right, so you're saying 2027 period, 2026 just can't
But that doesn't mean it couldn't be designed and constructed. I don't know that that's the type of project that couldn't be designed and constructed in the same year. I mean, we used to do big street projects in 1 year.
Yeah, well, I
before-
would think we could,
before things
especially
got
with the
crazy.
groundwork that got laid in the study.
Right.
So maybe that's the answer, is to put it in 2027, but kind of with the plan of it design and build in 2027. So it doesn't get stalled off to the end of 2027, end of 2028. You know what I mean? I just feel like we've really got to be more visible. And then, as we've talked about, expanding our promotion, for lack of a better word, of the public safety of the public works building and the array on that roof. Anybody going and dropping off cardboard ought to know that there's a solar installation on the roof of that building, for example.
And I think that's something that we can tackle in 2026.
Yeah. Well, that would
It's bringing more attention to the investment that's already been made.
Yeah.
In the existing infrastructure, and maybe the why behind that was done.
Yeah.
I think that's very reasonable.
Well, that might help me feel better.
I guess I'm just frustrated, you've said, you will do what we ask you to do, and I don't know how we could have been more clear in the discussion around solar that we wanted it to happen.
Yeah.
So short of, I don't know what, there was, I think, a disconnect between the discussion that we had and what came in the CIP. And so I guess I have a significant amount of frustration that, and what year it happened, I mean, it sounds like we can't do it next year, but I was very disappointed going through the CIP that there wasn't a project.
Sure.
Even though you didn't suggest that there would be one, you heard from us that we wanted one. So I mean, how can we be more clear in telling you what we want?
No, I think certainly, that again is conversations that we can, certainly directing the specific project in a specific time frame, which we're having the conversation right now. In my mind, there is at least an opportunity for solar in the CIP with the police headquarters. But I understand that's a separate, ad alternate and a separate policy decision. Again, these are conversations I know that are uncomfortable. I don't love them. I want to do, I wish I could come in and say, do every single thing every single one of you wants in the aggregate. My experience in the public finance world and the number of things that we're tackling here suggests to me it's going to be very difficult to keep this pace. And frankly, I don't think we're staffed for this pace of work. But we can fix that, and we'll bring those recommendations forward. But one project is not going to, make or break the CIP. But I didn't view the CIP that was recommended as being solarless. I viewed it as there's an opportunity coming where the council could decide, is it worth X number of $100,000 or whatever that number is to put it in the police headquarters?
Yeah.
And maybe that answers yes, and maybe that answers no. I don't know.
Well, that's certainly a fair point. I personally will feel a lot better if we just plan on doing it in 2027. That's the one because that's a very potentially visible project that could happen that very year and get done. And I think that's important. And I also think it will pay for itself over time. The math on it looks really good. That was the thing that was supposed to happen, was we were supposed to get the math back.
Right. Well, the math that was included in the study, though, contemplated the incentives that
I know,
that are
but
no-
even without the incentives, if you go look at that math, without the incentives, it still probably pays for itself. It just takes longer. That's the challenge there. But anyway, 2027 and this promotion piece of what we've got already, including the geothermal, et cetera. And then, yes, I just think the other undercurrent here is these renewable energy sources need to be foundational, fundamental, always considered. The idea of them being ad alternate, I get it. I know we have to balance between long-term costs and short-term costs. I get it. So ad alternate does make some level of sense. I get that. But we still need to make sure we're really paying attention to making these kinds of investments in a meaningful way. there's some really great stuff out there right now that's very clear that the only way to lead on climate is at the local level. And that applies to us. So I think I've said my piece and I'll shut up.
I think it's also worth acknowledging that there's a bit of turbulence in how do we pay for this stuff, especially right now, and like what is the availability and what does the future of it look like? You know, between incentives going away and like I just read today, Ford's discontinuing their F-150 Lightning entirely. They're going to just go to hybrid. So it's kind of, I think a lot of people are trying to navigate what does the future look like in an incentive different environment. And so I think we just need to make sure that we acknowledge that that is the environment we work in too.
I know, but I would like it noted that the project I was recommending we pull out of there was the $300,000 project. You know, I mean, I wasn't going nuts here. It was a reasoned choice, and I think we really should give it strong consideration. And if we put it in 2027, we can look at it at the next CIP and make a final determination at that point.
No, I agree. I think it's taking the best of all of our inputs and finding a way to move it forward.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I appreciate that. So that probably blew everything for people going around the room.
Oh, we ain't even started there yet.
I think those are the two big, most significant issues on the CIP. So the next version of the CIP you see will have those things in it, and you still have a policy decision to make. So if you change your mind again, the five of you set the policy. I don't, but I also have to tell you when there are concerns on the financial side.
Well, and I don't think it's just financial concern was what I heard. To me, the empathy that I have is for the staff. I hear the staff concern more than, I think there's a trade-off financially that we could pull off. I can think of some signs I'd have us not put up, for example, to get to $300,000, but you know, we've already talked about that too. But my point is, I really do appreciate staff needs to be able to do their jobs successfully and well and have lives, and I don't want to be burdening that. And so that's very, very telling comment. Thank you.
All right. Well, that, council items, Amy?
So on that point, it's almost 8:30. So staff, we would like you to get home. Not much from me. Thanks for all the snow removal, and the swearing-in ceremonies were great. And thanks to Pat for representing us at Wreaths Across America and in the blustery cold Saturday.
Ditto what Amy said. That's all I've got.
Blake?
A quick plug that in addition to the, I was very happy that Bravo came to do the grant piece tonight. Just a couple of notes from the regional impact breakfast that public dollar investment yields in what Bravo is seeing as a 7-to-1 investment in like returns and local tax revenue. One of the things that they threw out was if there was a removal of that support in the organization, it would basically be $150 a household to basically support the same level of tax revenues that come in from some of those cultural and art activities that folks bring in to the metro through hotel, motel, through restaurants and things like that. So just a continued reminder to make sure that we're keeping a regional approach going with kind of how we invest and therefore see those yields and benefits in the community. And they also made a note that Iowa ranks 46th in the nation for state arts funding, so that's kind of where like local support is kind of helping fill that gap in that regard. But that's all I have.
All right. Thanks, Blake. Bridget?
The Waukee Northwest girls won 2 more state championships since our last meeting. We won 2 state titles in dance, so congratulations to those folks, and just thank you to our snow plow drivers and all of the public works staff for, I don't know, what, we've had 3 snowstorms already. I feel like we haven't had that many this early.
Yeah.
So,
All
thank
on
you.
weekends.
Yeah.
Gratitude to all staff for amazing work, and I'm not going to say another word.
And remember, we still have budget season coming up here, too. Thank you, guys. Seriously, thank you, everybody. So, just something quick, just David and I have a meeting tomorrow with Polk County on CDBG, just so you know that. We'll advise you on that, and that's all I have. So, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.